You're watching ESPN on ABC.
With the San Gabriel Mountains as a backdrop, we await the 93rd edition of the Rose Bowl. Our weather, Southern California perfect for Michigan and USC. So as we sit back and get ready, we now turn things over to John Saunders. Happy New Year, John.
Brent, Happy New Year to you as well, and welcome to the Ford Built Tough pregame show. As we get ready for USC and Michigan, it has that feeling of a national championship game. Both of these teams thought they would be playing for one. They are not, but they still feel that the magnitude of this game. John Saunders with Craig James and Doug Flutie in this game. Neither team disappointed to be here.
No, neither team's disappointed. Pete Carroll's group's glad to be here. Michigan really wants to be here to be able to continue what they have established this season. I think this is a game where we got to see if USC can come out and physically accept what Michigan's going to bring to them, because Michigan's a physical football team. If USC doesn't come out, Doug, with their shoulder pads on tight, they'll be in trouble.
Michigan can run the ball. They're both two very physical teams, as Craig said. Michigan runs the ball downhill with Mike Hart. It's exciting. There's 6 great receivers in this game, a lot of big plays, a lot of emotion, and 2 very physical football teams.
It's going to be an exciting game now. Both of these teams thought they might be playing for the national championship. They're not. So here's how they got to where they are right now. You see the records 10-2. USC slipped up against UCLA on the final game of the season. Michigan, their final game was against #1 Ohio State. Lisa Salters on how they arrived in the Rose Bowl.
Despite losing 2 Heisman Trophy winners to the NFL, USC quickly showed they were still a force by whipping the eventual SEC West champion Arkansas by 36 points in their opener.
Blitz coming. Booty for the end zone. Touchdown, Davis.
A week later, the men of Troy easily took care of the eventual Big 12 North champion, Nebraska.
Touchdown, Dwayne Jarrett. A touchdown, USC.
After 4 more victories, USC slipped up against Oregon State on the road, but rallied with 3 consecutive November wins over ranked opponents.
Smith is all alone. Touchdown, USC.
In position for their 3rd straight national title game, the Trojans stumbled against crosstown rival UCLA on the season's final day, but still finished with their 5th straight Pac-10 championship. Following a dismal 7-5 season, Michigan got everyone's attention with an early season dismantling of 2nd-ranked Notre Dame on the road.
He's going for Manningham. Left corner of the end zone. He's got it. 3 touchdowns for Super Mario.
A week later, the Wolverines handed Wisconsin their only loss of the regular season and continued to rack up win after win behind a defense that allowed only 43 rushing yards per game.
One of the best defenses in the country, without a doubt.
In their last game of the regular season, the Wolverines put up 39 points on the road against the nation's top-ranked team. Unfortunately, they came up 3 points short. Still, many believe Michigan deserved a rematch.
Let's take a look at the ESPNU All-State Standings Review. This is how it looked. USC and Ohio State were on a collision course, but then USC lost to UCLA and Florida beat Arkansas. And some people thought because of that, Michigan dropped. Even though they didn't play, they flip-flopped with Florida, and Florida wound up in the championship game. I will go to you, my good friend Craig James, first, because you're a voter in the AP, which doesn't count in the BCS, I understand. But you did move Florida over Michigan.
Yeah, you know what? The majority of us did. So that tells you something right there. And I really don't believe that there was any kind of motivation by the voters to put the game together that they wanted to see. A lot of folks think that's the case. For me, it came down to simply this. Florida earned the right to play in the national championship game by playing that 13th game. Simple as that. I think Michigan's a heck of a football team. They'd love to, but in the system we're in today, Doug, you have to make a decision on something. I went with the earning the spot in for Florida.
They did earn their way in, and it was on the strength of that SEC schedule that we've all talked about all year. But Michigan's only loss was the 3-point loss at Ohio State. And today, 2 Big Ten teams beat 2 top SEC teams. So what's that saying about the Big Ten schedule and the potential down the road?
It's a long shot, but there are some here rooting for Michigan that think they still have a chance to win a national championship. I don't think there's any shot at that. Right now, let's join Brent Musburger.
All right, John, and I got my coach and my quarterback ready here, Bob Davie and Kirk Herbstreit. I guess you could talk ad infinitum about who wound up number 2. But you know what, guys? We got 2 pretty good football teams here now, Bob Davie. We got some pretty good players over on that Michigan side.
Well, first of all, Brent, I think the Michigan offense has an advantage because of the talent and experience they have at the 2 most important positions, quarterback and running back. Both Chad Henne, Michael Hart, 3-year starters. They are great players. And, Kirk, what I love about them, their attitude. Both could have come out in this year's NFL draft.
So you have Mike Hart and you have Chad Henne. You have tremendous balance from Michigan's offense. One thing that Pete Carroll has is maybe his fastest defense that he's ever had at USC. That's what he's told us all year. And today they're going to have to attack Mike Hart, try to negate the running game of Michigan to try to look out for those play action passes that Michigan always throws every single game.
And John, I've been asked over and over, who's going to win this Rose Bowl? I haven't got a clue, my friend.
Somehow I find that hard to believe that Mr. Musburger doesn't have a clue who's going to win this game. I'll tell you what, Chad Henne thinks he should. He's had a terrific season, and he could end it on a terrific note against USC. And John David Booty, their quarterback, of course, who just had to step in for a couple of Heisman Trophy winners and march his team into the Rose Bowl. It's going to be a fantastic Pac-10 Big Ten matchup. A classic when we return to Pasadena for the Rose Bowl. Gerald Ford, the most athletic of all our presidents, passed away this past week. His number 48 retired, of course. He was part of the undefeated 32 and 33 championship teams. They'll carry decals of his name and Bo Schembechler as well for today's game, as we lost Bo earlier this season. All right, guys, who are the key men in the game?
I'll tell you what, for Michigan defensively, it's Lamar Woodley, senior defensive end. I'll tell you what, he's got 11 sacks this year on a team that's got 41 sacks. And that's going to be key today in getting pressure on the quarterback and getting after John David Booty.
And whenever he gives the ball back to the offense, Mike Hart, with a Michigan record average of 113 a game, the guy runs the ball. He's the heart and soul. He sets the pace for the offense. They have to be able to run the ball today.
Offensively, it's Steve Smith, the senior wide receiver. He's more of a possession guy now for USC with the big guys on the outside, but he has been Mr. Consistency for USC.
You know what? He is consistent, but he's not the man. The man would be Dwayne Jarrett on the outside, junior wide receiver, 2-time All-American this year, 59 catches, 10 of those for touchdowns, so just get him the ball. Dwayne Jarrett gives a lot of openness for this USC offense. Tough to stop everything that they have on offense.
One of the reasons these teams are tough to stop are their coaches. Both of these guys have won national championships, Pete Carroll and Lloyd Carr. And as you can see, their bowl records as well around the 500, but it's tough to win in any bowls. The big number is at the top. And we have 2 beginning with Bonnie Bernstein.
Lloyd Carr, we talked a little bit yesterday about wanting to get that bowl monkey off your back. You've had those 3 straight losses. What have you seen from your players that gives you the conviction that'll happen today?
Well, we've been out here 3 times in the last 4 years, so we have a number of veteran guys in terms of Rose Bowl experience. They've made it clear that this was a business trip, and I think we've had great leadership. We've had great concentration. We'll see what happens here.
Every defensive coach will tell you first priority is stopping the run. But with as many explosive plays as USC is capable of making, what do you have to do to stop them in the air?
Well, I think first and foremost it starts with pressuring the quarterback Booty, who's an outstanding player, and trying to do a good job on 2 of the best receivers in college football, in Jarrett and Smith.
Coach, thanks. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Pete. My first question to you, here we are preparing for the Rose Bowl, the headline in the LA paper today, the next best thing. How do you keep your players from thinking that we should maybe be playing in another big bowl game?
No, we don't think that way because we didn't earn it, you know, so we've had a real clear thought about this all along. The media wants to continue to go to all that, but this is an extraordinary event. We're fortunate to be representing the Pac-10. We're fortunate to be in this situation. Guys from California, they grow up dreaming about playing in this game, and our other guys are learning that from out of state, so this is a big day for us.
Your last 2 visits here to Pasadena didn't end up the way that you guys wanted them to. What do you say to your players to maybe help them overcome what could be a psychological hurdle about this place?
I don't think it's been any issue. We don't even talk about it. It doesn't even come up. You know, this is a great chance for us to on this stage to have a heck of a day, and we're going to try to do that. What's happened in the past really doesn't affect us. We're going to try to do something today.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, see you.
Back to you guys.
Thanks. So there's only a psychological hurdle if it's the other team, not the building.
Vince Young's not here, so Pete Carroll's very happy about that. So is Lloyd Carr.
Pete's ready to go. He's got Michigan. It's not Texas.
Michigan's got those receivers to watch. It should be a terrific game. Now, another game played earlier today here on ABC, the Capital One Bowl, and this one was a pretty good matchup between Wisconsin and Arkansas. John Stocco had a good day, 22 yards to Paul Hubbard.
It was John Stocco's day to win or lose this game. Wisconsin could not run the football. P.J. Hill could not get on track. The Arkansas defensive front did a great job all day.
Stocco again with another touchdown.
You know, it was through the air. We thought P.J. Hill might have to do it with his legs, but instead Stocco comes out and they beat Arkansas. This was a nice win. Brett Bielema, congratulations. A heck of a job on the field and a great job this season.
West Virginia over Georgia Tech. We didn't see this one coming as a high-scoring game.
No, well, nobody thought Georgia Tech would score that many points, but West Virginia, a valiant effort coming back like they did. And how about Penn State? Congratulations to Joe Buck.
Penn State, another Big Ten team beating an SEC team there, Craig. Great win for Penn State.
Look, you got to understand,
And
it's top to bottom.
Auburn.
You just can't say the top teams.
I know.
Auburn over Nebraska. There you go for your SEC game, Craig, as well. Now, another big story today. Bob Knight looking to become the all-time leader in coaching victories in college basketball. As Darius Jackson makes a three-pointer to put him ahead 70-68. And Bob Knight walks off the court with win number 880. Number one all-time. Of course, most of those victories picked up at Indiana, and before that at Army. So congratulations to Coach Knight. The General has gotten it done as he continues to march on with Texas Tech. Stick around. We will continue with more in a moment. When we come back, we'll start to take a look at who we think, or well, at least my buddies think, will have a chance to win today's game. Welcome back to the Built for Tough pregame show. And just moments ago, the Grand Marshal of this year's game and the Tournament of Roses, George Lucas, marched in with the Rose Queen, Mary McCluggage.
Our City Rose Bowl flashback focuses on the 2006 Rose Bowl game. A year ago, the Texas Longhorns were up against USC, college football's modern-day dynasty, in the national championship game. Both teams were spectacular, but once again, Vince Young made the difference.
4th and 5, the national championship on the line right here. He's going for the corner. He's got it. Invincible.
It's time now for predictions, and I'll start with Mr. Craig James, who again jumped Florida over Michigan. So what does that say about what you feel about the Wolverines team?
What do you think? I'm going to take USC now? Hey, you know, this is a football game. It's a rebound game for Pete Carroll and USC after their UCLA loss. They will be prepared to play. But Michigan is a powerful football team with a good, well-balanced ball club. I think Michigan, this is a statement game for them. They're coming out trying to prove guys like me and all these other voters who put them down, they're wrong.
I'm going Michigan as well. And the key there to stop any good passing attack, which USC has, is to get pressure on the quarterback, Woodley on defense, 41 sacks as a team.
Both guys going with Michigan. I'll make it unanimous, at least down here. We'll find out what the guys upstairs think. Brent, up to you.
All right, John, and weather conditions for the 93rd Rose Bowl, perfect. The fans lucky enough to have tickets are squeezing in, folks, as we await one of the most anticipated matchups of the entire bowl season.
More than a place, a presence, more than a stadium, a standard for the grand theater and spectacle of the college game. Since 1923, this has been the home, and this has been the time for legends to be born, for dreams to be fulfilled or denied, for hearts to soar or be broken. And today, this one-of-a-kind arena awaits another rendezvous with history. From out of the Midwest, a team that has marched to its own bone-rattling rhythms all season long, grinding turf, carving out drives, and stopping them on open fields across the heartland. From the Pacific Coast, a magical ride, a magnificent show of high-caliber football these past several years from a school long associated with gridiron greatness. Put these teams together, envelop them in the rich tradition of this event, and watch a classic unfold. The Wolverines of Michigan, the Trojans of USC in the Rose Bowl game presented by Citi, the granddaddy of them all.
You are looking live at one of the grandest scenes in all of sport, the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. As we welcome you to the Rose Bowl game presented by Citi, it is USC versus Michigan. It's an old-fashioned Rose Bowl. It's the Pac-10 against the Big Ten. And the weather, as we've said, is absolutely glorious. Welcome, everybody, and Happy New Year. Along with Bob Davey and Kirk Herbstreit, I'm Brent Musburger. What we have here, a couple of teams that so want to wash away the end of 2006. They want to start 2007 off on the right foot. Let us start with Michigan, Coach.
Well, Brent, Michigan has too much at stake to still have a BCS hangover. If they win this game, they will be #1 ranked going into next season. That leads them into a great offseason. If they lose, that'll be 3 straight times they've lost their last regular season game to Ohio State and the bowl game. As you guys know, that can lead to an offseason of discontent. That's enough motivation right there. But, Kirk, I mean, this is the Rose Bowl. Look at this place.
Wow,
Michigan's
yeah.
going to be excited now.
Well, we're all excited. I mean, you look at that field and you get excited about this matchup, and you think about Pete Carroll and his team, 4 quarters away from getting to the championship, but they've had about 3 weeks now to get over that hangover. There will not be a hangover. I found it interesting in talking to Pete Carroll. He said, we do what we always do at SC. We went back to the practice field, raised the intensity for 3 weeks, and we raised the competition on the practice field to get us ready for this football game, and that's really the only thing you can do. And I think it'll work for SC.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, we lost a couple of great friends of college football this year, the passing of legendary Michigan coach Bo Schembechler. And then last week, Gerald Ford, former president of the United States, who was an All-American center in the 30s and became our 38th president, passed away. And today, as we present the colors here at the Rose Bowl, we will pay honor to the late President Gerald Ford. Right now, let us join the PA announcer.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem. The Tournament of Roses joins the nation in remembering President Gerald Ford, for whom our flag is lowered to half-mast. As an alumnus of the University of Michigan, President Ford played on 2 national championship teams for the Wolverines in 1932 and 1933. After 13 terms in Congress and his term as the 38th President of the United States, his tenure in public office culminated with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, given to him for outstanding service to the country. In 1978, the Tournament of Roses was honored to have him as his Grand Marshal. In remembrance of the passing of President Ford, we ask that you observe a moment of silence. Thank you. And now please remain standing and join in singing our national anthem, performed today by the University of Michigan Marching Band under the direction of Professor Jamie L. Nix. At the conclusion of the anthem, please welcome from the north end of the stadium 4 F-16 jets from the California Air National Guard in Fresno as they fly over the stadium in salute to America, President Ford, and the tradition of the Rose Bowl.
Also with us today, Bonnie Bernstein and Lisa Salters, and let's begin with Bonnie.
Hi there, Brent. Well, as you mentioned, Michigan lost 2 football greats in the last month and a half, and they will be honored today with a sticker on the team's helmets. Legendary coach Bo Schembechler and President Gerald Ford, the center of the team's MVP in 1934, and his number 48, the most recent number to be retired by the Wolverines. Chad Henne was telling me how he got a good feel for President Ford's sense of humor when he visited the team 2 years ago. He said, "Hey, who's that great receiver you have?" And of course, Braylon Edwards stood up, and he said, "No, not you. I meant Jason Avant." Everybody got a big kick out of that. Mike Hart, Michigan's running back, who was very close with Schembechler, told me he's thought often since Bo's passing about how he should deal or how he would recommend Bo deals with a particular situation. But he said Bo wouldn't want us to be sad about his death. If he could tell us one more thing, it would just be to suck it up and move on. Lisa Salters is across the way with USC.
Thanks, Bonnie. Well, the last time the Trojans played here in Pasadena, their tailbacks rushed for a combined total yards 55 yards, and they know they have to do a much better job this afternoon to take care of the Wolverines. First on the depth chart for USC, freshman C.J. Gable, who told me earlier this week, he said, "I still feel like a freshman sometimes in the backfield." He said, "I know what I'm supposed to do, but sometimes I forget, especially my blocking assignments. I know I have to handle my business this afternoon." And Chauncey Washington, who finally appeared to be injury-free after being plagued all year by hamstring and knee injuries, he came down with a case of food poisoning on Friday, missed practice, got loaded up on IV. Good news for the Trojans. He's said to be 100% right now. Brent.
All right, Lisa. As we look at this grand scene and await the arrival of our 2 combatants, and here come the Trojans. Wolverines of Michigan. Two schools that are very, very familiar with BCS territory. Since it was founded in the last decade, you can see the number of appearances. Florida State still leading the way. USC making its 5th BCS appearance today, and Michigan its 4th. And next week, the Florida Gators will make their 4th against Ohio State in the championship game. The Buckeyes 1 behind Florida State. Our officiating crew today is from the ACC, and we have a veteran referee at the controls, Jack Childress. It's also ACC replay officials upstairs, and Dave Perry, the longtime administrator of the officials, is in our booth to clarify anything that might go wrong. For Lloyd Carr, of course, he would like to break this bowl losing streak here today, as he comes equipped with a veteran team that he told Bonnie about a little bit earlier in the day. Now, Pete Carroll across the way, he's had 2 very, very tough losses in the Rose Bowl in his last 2 encounters. Of course, a few weeks back, UCLA knocking them out of championship contention. And then last year it was Vince Young as the captains. John David Moody there, their quarterback, helping bring them out. These captains were elected by members of the USC team. And now Big Jake Long of the Wolverines comes out. Jack Childress will be there. The Grand Marshal of Star Wars fame is George Lucas, and he will be flipping the coin as we go down to the center of the field.
Do me a favor, come in and introduce yourselves.
Good luck, Big Dog.
Gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Terrence Ramsey, today's umpire. Michigan, you're the home team in the blue. USC, the visiting team in the white jerseys. Gentlemen, congratulations on being here at the Rose Bowl. A wonderful year. Gentlemen, it's my distinct honor to introduce two gentlemen to you. First to my left is the Tournament of Roses president, Mr. Paul Holman. To my far left is legendary filmmaker and Grand Marshal of the Rose Bowl Parade, Mr. George Lucas. Gentlemen, meet Mr. Holman and Mr. Lucas. Mr. Holman has the commemorative coin. Gentlemen, if you will, the coin on one side has the Michigan logo. The other side sports the Southern California logo. It will not be necessary to call this toss. Mr. Lucas will toss the coin, and whoever's logo comes face up has the choice. Mr. Lucas, if you will. Gentlemen, face up, Southern California, Southern Cal. As you see, Southern Cal has won the toss. Would you like to receive, kick off, defend a goal, or defer to the second half? Southern California has won the toss and will defer. Michigan, you want the football. Which way you want to kick? You want to kick this way. Michigan there, Southern Cal here. Southern Cal won the toss and deferred. Michigan receives on this end. Shake hands, have a great ball game.
This ESPN production of the Rose Bowl available on ABC HD, presented by Olivia. Spanish language version of the Rose Bowl game presented by ESPN Deportes. And to access the Spanish language telecast, press the SAP button. So you think about these two schools, such great names like John McKay and Bo, Heisman trophies, 7 for the Trojans, 3 for the Wolverines, national titles 11 apiece. Pete Carroll already with 2, and of course Lloyd Carr won his right here in beating Washington State. Rose Bowl appearances, nobody's been here any more than USC, 31 times with 21 victories. Pete Carroll's now 55 years old, and folks, after his first year, he went 6-6. He is 57-6 since then. Of course, he coached the New York Jets for 1 year, the New England Patriots for 3 years. And on the other side, a veteran of the late Bo Schembechler's staff, Lloyd Carr, now 62 years old. He's won 76% of his games, 75-21 overall in the Big Ten, 5 conference titles. But keep in mind that against the top teams, Lloyd Carr's record's impressive, 16-7. So the Wolverines and Chad Henne will handle the ball first, and with the ball on the tee is David Beeler, sophomore from Anaheim. He'll handle the kickoff, George, and there is Steve Bruston, his last time here. A couple of years back against Mac Brown and the Longhorns at Texas. He electrified this crowd as a return man. Texas, of course, won it on a field goal in the closing seconds. And then the following year, it was all Vince Young winning the national championship. So we're about ready to go, folks. Away we go. Preston at the goal line. Short of the 20-yard line, and so Kirk, Chad Henne, the veteran quarterback, coming out with the Michigan offense.
And Brent, you say veteran, he's making his 37th career start tonight for the Maize and Blue. And the thing that I find interesting in bowl games, you can see the decision making at the end. 7 touchdowns and 1 interception, but he has 2 losses as a starting quarterback in bowl games, 3 losses to Ohio State. He's 0-5 in the last 2 games. He wants to change that. Today is a big opportunity for him in this offense.
You can see a big offensive line leading him out. Bruston will go to that slot in the left. You recognize the number 15, offset fullback. He has his choice, run or pass, much of the game after he sees the alignment. And here comes their heart and soul. Mike Hart for 11 yards on his first carry of the game. Let's take a look at this Michigan offense now. Big Jake Long. He came out. You saw him, one of the co-captains, a junior. He could go to the NFL, but he's announced he's coming back next year. Zone blocking. Those of you who haven't followed the Wolverines, it means you won't see pulling guards. And of course, Mike Hart has already carried one, the junior from Syracuse. And again, it is Mike carrying it. So 2 consecutive plays. Brian Cushing. We do want to keep an eye on a couple of linebackers from USC in this game. Brian Cushing, of course, alternates as a rush end and a drop back linebacker. And there he is. A little bit of a hip injury. But the one that Pete Carroll's most concerned about is Dallas Sartz, number 42. Can he hold up? And in that secondary, the corners, Harris and Thomas, they know that Manningham and Bruston will be coming before long. On second down. And Henne is taken down by Cushing, number 10.
And Brent, you talked about Brian Cushing hurt his knee 2 weeks ago in a scrimmage right before they went home for Christmas break. And right here, that is not really Chad Henne's game, just the straight drop back pass, Kirk.
And they brought the blitz that time, Kevin Ellison from the outside, and get used to that from Pete Carroll. You give him 3 weeks to prepare, and he will come up with numerous ways to attack a quarterback who drops back to throw.
So Ken Norton Jr. working with the Trojan linebackers on the far side. Third down and 14 now for Henning and the Wolverines. Incomplete. Michigan forced a punt. So after a first down run, the Trojan defense settles back down, and the Wolverines will punt it away.
Again, it's the pressure from Pete Carroll deciding to bring linebackers, and I think you could see early in this game they want to put pressure on Chad Henne, try to get him uncomfortable and get him out of rhythm, because when he's in rhythm, he's as accurate as any quarterback in college football.
Let's go back to punt. They came after him. No flag. Desmond Reed buried at the 35-yard line. Darnell Hood, one of the leaders of the special teams, downfield for the Wolverines on that punt. So when we come back, it will be John David Booty and the Trojan offense.
You're watching ESPN on ABC.
Well, Coach Davey, it is John David Booty's turn here.
Well, Brent, how John David Booty reacts to the Michigan pass rush, in my opinion, is the key to this game. UCLA was able to rout them with pressure. You know Michigan is going to try to do the same exact thing.
So they run it right straight ahead with C.J. Gable, the freshman running back. Take a look at this offense. Now, Sam Baker and Kyle Williams, their 2 tackles, they had a lot of difficulty with the speed rushers from UCLA the last time out. Alan Bradford will see action at fullback, and there is big Dwayne Jarrett. You can see him on the first play. They sent Trent with him. Morgan Trent. So the Wolverines have decided to chase with that secondary. Second down and 6. Again, keeping it on the ground, and big hit by Jamar Adams, one of the safeties. Now defensively, Lamar Woodley, senior defensive end from Saginaw, Rondell Biggs hoping to put on heat, and they got help that time. David Harris, their leading tackler. And there is Woodley, number 56. And in that secondary, folks, Willis Behringer, who went out of the game in Columbus with an injury. Jamar, you just saw in action. Behringer, perhaps their best tackling safety. So they are much better equipped at that spot in this game. Chauncey Washington in for the first time as the tailback for the Trojans. Booty rolling hard to the right. On the move, throws to Jarrett for the first down, and Trent pushes him out of bounds.
And right away, Brent, you see the adjustment USC made since the UCLA game. They take John David Booty, Kirk, instead of sitting him in the pocket, they rolled him out there and got him away from the pass rush.
And they also motioned the tight end Dale Thompson over to help out Kyle Williams after the struggles against UCLA early in the game. Help him not only moving Booty outside, but chipping there with the tight end.
Throwing straight back, deflected, bobble incomplete, out of bounds on the sideline. And talking with Ron English, the defensive coordinator of the Wolverines yesterday, he said, Bob, exactly what you pointed out. He expected John David Booty to be bootlegging and rolling out more. He said when they broke down the tape back in Ann Arbor that John David Booty rolled out a lot more in the early part of the season. And he felt there was an injury and that was the reason why the Trojans were keeping him in the pocket. But he said with his time off, we expect him to move a little bit more. 2nd down and 10. Screen. Well read. Harris, the middle linebacker, number 45, all over Gable.
David Harris, who the Michigan players voted their most valuable player. I think one of the best linebackers of all college football. Again, Kirk, you see USC's plan, though, of trying to slow that pass rush down, coming with the screen.
Screen pass, great recognition, great instincts by David Harris all year for this Michigan defense. And the thing that I see is USC's trying to isolate those linebackers and the safeties in space to try to take advantage of the speed of the wide receivers of USC.
Davis, the tight end, flexed well off the line of scrimmage to the right on 3rd and long for Booty. Fires high and incomplete in his direction on the far side, and now it is the Trojans. You know, with these teams and schools, and you see it throughout the bowl season, Kirk, having so much time off, I've often noticed that in the first quarter of bowl games, it takes a while for especially the offenses to get their timing and their rhythm back.
It takes a while to settle in after all the hype of 3 or 4 weeks, not to mention the timing that you've tried to maintain with the intensity in practice.
Here's Boydneck's first punt. Takes a USC bounce if they can get to it into the end zone. It will come out on the 20-yard line. There's big Ray Mawaluga, the middle linebacker, downfield on coverage after that 55-yard punt. So it will be the Wolverines' 2nd possession of the game. We'll take a break. Michigan huddles up. Meanwhile, Jared, USC, take a break.
Exclusive coverage of the Rose Bowl game presented by Citi. Brought to you by Citi. It's easier to get the rewards you want. Ford, introducing the all-new Ford Edge. The Edge is never dull. The Home Depot. You can do it, we can help. And Verizon Wireless.
It was a fabulous morning for the Rose Parade. A year ago, got a little damp out there for some of the fans. USC song girls are ready now. Their defense is on the field. Here's Henne on a play fake, rolling hard to the right with a completion out of bounds. There is Sartz, and he is working on Carson Butler, the sophomore tight end from the Detroit area. There is Sartz playing despite that injury. Coach Carroll and the staff not sure how long he can go here today, and should he be forced out. Clay Matthews, a familiar name, and his daddy was a great football player, and so was his uncle. He could be coming on, seeing some action for Coach Carroll. 2nd down and 5 now for Henne. Here comes Hart. Not this time. 3rd down coming up. Let's meet Mike Hart from Syracuse.
Michael Hart, running back, University of Michigan, Syracuse, New York. I'm a video game junkie, and right now I'm on the Gears of War, Xbox 360, and can't be beat. Growing up, I was always a Barry Sanders fan, and that's one of the reasons I wear number 20. I'll be back for my senior season for 2 reasons: win the national championship and beat the Buckeyes.
And there we have it. You think we might see that
Setting the tone.
You think that got the Buckeyes' attention? And,
setting the tone for 07. He's ready.
You kind of bowed up when you heard him say that about the Buckeyes. I noticed you flinched a little bit.
Oh, wow.
Third down and 6 now. Here's Henney. And his receiver tripped. His receiver was working against Kerry Harris. Manningham was coming down the near side, and he tripped, lost his footing. You can take a look at it.
Well, Kirk, you talked about a little bit earlier. I think the layoff really does favor the defense. Again, I'm not sure. Great communication right there between Mario Manningham and Chad Henne.
Well, these wide receivers and Chad Henne better get on the same page, especially on third down when Pete Carroll will bring a blitz almost every single time to pressure Henne.
Zoltan Mesko to punt, but remember it was Darnell Hood who was the standout. His coverage on Reed after that punt. Under enormous pressure. Fair catch this time, and Reed will let it bounce out of bounds at about the 41-42 yard line. And so decent field position coming up for USC and John David Booty. That's only a 34-yard punt, and the Trojans are getting closer and closer to blocking one. We welcome you back to the Rose Bowl game, presented by Citi. Pete Carroll and the Trojans with the ball for the second time here today. They'll start for their own 42-yard line. John David Booty, junior quarterback. Gable, and now Bradford is in the game as the fullback. Gable cuts to a hole close to midfield on first down. Let's meet quarterback John David Booty.
I'm John David Booty from Shreveport, Louisiana. I'd have to say the food that I miss the most back home is crawfish. You can't find that anywhere out here. I'm not one for fighting traffic, so I got an apartment close to campus so I can just ride my bike to class every day. I'm actually called John David because my dad's name is John. Growing up, we'd get confused calling us both John, and David being my middle name, we just added those together and got John David.
So there we have it, John David with John watching for the stand. Quick completion, putting it in Jarrett's hands, but not much doing over there as Leon Hall, their All-American corner, came up to make the stop.
Kirk, it'll be interesting to see how John David Booty handles the criticism coming from the UCLA game. He had a great year, first year as a starter, but let's face it, the bar has been set so high here. When you lose a game like UCLA and only score 9 points, he's taking a lot of heat.
He has, and I think his offensive line should take most of the heat. He was pressured almost every time he dropped back to throw, but people forget not only losing Minot, Reggie Bush, Lindale White, 3 offensive linemen, that's hard to replace, and they've done a great job this year.
Sean Crable checks into this defense. It was a first down, play fake. Booty rolling hard to the right, going deep downfield. Got a man broken up at the last instance by Willis Behringer. The young man we told you could be a difference maker in that secondary was injured early on in Columbus against the Buckeyes.
We're going to see Morgan Trent, the corner, play in the double move. Steve Smith has him clearly beat. Kirk, the ball was a little late and a little underthrown by John David Booty.
Exactly right, Coach. Watching the play develop, it's so easy to see it from up here, but he was waiting for Smith to get clear of Trent, and he waited just a hair too long, giving Behringer enough time to come over.
2nd and 10. Draw play to Gable, swallowed. Alan Branch, number 80. Folks, there is one of the best defensive linemen in the country. 330 pounds out of Rio Rancho, New Mexico. He's a junior, and he's going to have a decision to make after this game. He is the one star who has not said that he's coming back next year. Most every draft projection list that I have looked at puts him in the top 10 if he decides to come out. He's that good. He's a difference maker in that defensive line. 3rd down and 12.
This Michigan defense, number 1 in the country in 3rd down defense.
Straight back. Jarrett snatches it down right in front of Morgan Trent, and it's a USC 1st and 10. Another junior who could have a decision to make, and that is their talented wide receiver, Dwayne Jarrett. That is 18 yards.
Well, we know John David Booty is capable of making these kind of throws, Kirk, if he gets protection, and he got good pass protection right there.
That's what it's going to come down to today for this USC offense, whether or not John David Booty has the time to throw. I think SC feels very, very confident with the wide receivers, including Dwayne Jarrett, going up against this Michigan secondary.
And now he holds the USC receiving record. Mike Brittingham in as the fullback. Looking right at him, coming out of the backfield, got him. He crosses the 20-yard line. Tim Jamison back there on coverage. So Booty and the Trojans are into the red zone.
And USC with so many injuries this year at fullback, I think 3 fullbacks injured. Mike Brittingham out of the backfield. That's a new name, Brent. We've done a lot of USC games this year.
He's a special teams guru that they've had to go so far down. He's a walk-on, and he's a guy that gives you great effort that time there to make the catch.
Washington in at the tailback. Booty going to keep it in the air. Incomplete, fired high to his target. That was Fred Davis, the tight end. So there are the Booties who've come from Louisiana. John and Sonia, mom and dad. Brothers are also right alongside.
You know, Booty followed 2 Heisman Trophy winners here at USC. He followed 2 high school national players of the year in high school, Brock Berlin, and then his brother Josh. So this guy's used to playing behind some great players.
Gable replaces Chauncey as the tailback. This is 2nd down and 10. And Gable can't get past the defensive line that time. Will Johnson, a junior nose man, makes the stop.
Kirk, you kind of see the plan. Throw on running downs, 1st and 10, then come back and draw or screen on 2nd and long passing downs.
We've talked so much in this first quarter about USC and their struggles the last time out on offense and protecting the quarterback. We failed to mention how Michigan's defense really struggled against Troy Smith and Ohio State, allowing 316 yards through the air that game, including 4 touchdown passes.
And this is how the Buckeyes burned that defense. They spread the field. They go empty. 5 targets on 3rd down. Booty, short drop. Jarrett. And lost the ball, but I believe he was down. Yes, he's marked down at the 9-yard line. That is short of the 1st down.
But Brent, you said it. That 5-wide empty look, 25 times Ohio State did that against USC. Well, Ron English says, listen, I was patient against Ohio State. That didn't work. I'm going to blitz it, and they blitzed it that time.
That time, you're right. They brought more than the USC offensive line could handle, forcing Booty to get rid of it probably before he was ready, and they come up a little bit short of the 1st down.
And so Mario Daniello is on the field here. This will be a 26-yarder. Trying to put SC ahead. And on a perfect day, he's right down the middle. Trojans lead it by a field goal. It's the 93rd Rose Bowl game presented by Citi. Well, be sure to tune in after the game for the Built Ford Tough post-game show here from Pasadena. 3-0 lead for the Trojans, and their defense has stopped the Wolverines stone cold so far in this game. Michigan has 1 first down if you just turned on the television, and that was their first offensive play of the game for Lloyd Carr. Beeler with the ball on the tee to kick it off. And last time out, Ruston was well defended, short of the 20-yard line. Beeler hung that one up in the air, which gave the coverage unit time to get downfield. We talk about punts being up in the air, but sometimes these kickoff fellas can get him up there too. Deep drive. Let this one go out of the end zone. Well, the Wolverines enjoying a fabulous season until the very end. 11-1 overall with only that 1 bitter loss in Columbus. They routed Notre Dame, and that put the show on the road. They won their first 11 games for the 6th time in Michigan school history. And then the shootout, the classic, 42-39. And they were jumped first by USC and then by Florida. This is their 20th Rose Bowl appearance. They've lost 2 of the last 3 years to Texas and to this USC team. Remember, that was the year the USC won the Associated Press National Championship. The BCS went to LSU as they defeated Oklahoma in New Orleans. 3:44 now. Quick snap to the outside. And on that far side, Mario Manningham with his first catch of the game. So they get him going.
Michigan, their own little change up there, going with an empty backfield coach, trying to get the ball out to the outside to Manningham. It worked out very nicely.
I'll tell you, Lloyd Carr made a strong statement the other day when we visited him. Mario Manningham, Brent, the most explosive wide receiver he's ever seen at Michigan. Kirk, they've had a few at Michigan.
Oh, yeah. Well, he probably has the best moves on that second move on a route as any receiver in the country.
Hart back in the game with Will Paul as his fullback. Crosses the 40-yard line. Running behind big Jake Long, number 77 over there on that left side.
And you want to see zone blocking. This is zone blocking right here. Michigan only has 2 plays. They don't have many plays, but they have a lot of players, and that's what you call zone blocking.
And for people at home, you're just trying to take that defensive line and take them to the sideline and get up to the second level with your offensive line to get to the linebackers, and the back has to be patient to find that crease, and Mike Hart is very good at that.
And he wants to put it up on the second down. Got his first down. Snapped it off to the 46-yard line. Tyler Ecker, tight end, senior, playing in his final Michigan game.
And Mike Hart is an undersized guy, but watch this block right there. He gets Lawrence Jackson, the defensive end, down on the ground.
Lawrence Jackson, 6'5", 265 pounds. I'm always amazed to watch Mike Hart in person, to have a full appreciation. Yeah, he got his left arm up there a little bit, but it's the courage to go down on one of the better defensive ends in the Pac-10.
2 tight ends. Running formation for Hart. Again behind Jake Long. And this time, Cedric Ellis, their fine defensive lineman, was all over the running back.
You know, we looked at that Michigan timeline. Remarkable when you think they were 7-5 last year. But the players the other day told me the difference this year, we all know a lot about the conditioning that, but Lloyd Carr has loosened up a lot more funnier around the players. Now he's not Jim Carrey or Will Ferrell now, but he's loosened up a lot this year.
Different feel and a different vibe around this Michigan team.
Arrington is the wide receiver. To the left. Henney wants to dump it off to Hart in underneath. So out in the flat, but this is short of the first down. This will be 3rd down as Terrell Thomas, the corner, makes the play defensively.
Trying to get after Chad Henne again with a blitz. This time Keith Rivers, and Henne getting rid of the ball. Had what they wanted, but a nice tackle in the open field that time by Harris. Every 3rd down up to this point, we've seen some form of a linebacker or safety blitz. Let's see what they decide to do here with this USC defense.
3 wideouts. Arrington's the slot man. Henne changes it up. He's given a lot of freedom. That's how much he understands the offense and the other team's defense. He'll throw to Breston in underneath for the first down. Busted out of bounds at the 36-yard line.
And Kerry Harris, number 7, bailed out on that, and it was really an easy throw and catch for Chad Henne and Steve Breston.
I'm just shocked on 3rd and 5 when you bring in a linebacker that you would give him a 15-yard cushion on Steve Breston. Very easy throw for Chad Henne. First down for Michigan. Too soft a cushion that time by Kerry Harris.
And 12 yards for the passing game. 1st down and 10 for the Wolverines, their most impressive drive of the afternoon. Sartz sacks him down at the 44-yard line.
And Pete Carroll on 1st and 10 brings the corner and also Dallas Sartz, the linebacker. We go ahead and let it roll. You're going to see the corner, and here comes Sartz also on the blitz.
And I think that corner blitz really confused Reuben Riley and Alex Mitchell, the right side of the offensive line. Some confusion there, and it freed up Sartz, one of their better pass rushers, when he does come on the blitz.
Breston is now slotted to the left on 2nd down and long. Here comes Hart at the 45-yard line and hit by Oscar Lua, the senior from Indio. Makes a big hit. One of the veterans, extremely well liked by the coaching staff. So the Rose Bowl game presented by Citi reaches the end of the first quarter. It's 3-0 USC, and we'll return after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Turn to the accuracy of the WCCM 13 weather team.
Welcome back to the Rose Bowl game presented by Citi. And our aerial coverage brought to you by Goodyear Tires, featuring triple tread technology. We come to the end of the first quarter without a single penalty. The Trojans kicking a field goal, leading at 3-0. Michigan, having mounted its best drive, has been thrust back to the 44, and now they face a 3rd and 16. 3 wide receivers. And he steps away from the pressure, fires down the middle, got his first down, I believe. Mario Manningham.
Obviously, anytime you get to 3rd and long, you need time for the plays to be able to develop and the receivers to get downfield. Interesting, Kerry Harris, the corner, sits to the outside, knowing that he has help from Taylor Mays, the true freshman Mays, late in coming over, giving Manningham plenty of time to get the first down.
What happened? They were in zone coverage when Chad Henne stepped up. The linebacker stepped up and voided the zone in behind him. He threw it in behind him.
The freshman Brandon Miner from Richmond, Virginia checks in. And nothing much doing on his first carry. There's Ellis.
It's a challenge for those linebackers, huh, Coach? They got to get back there on 3rd and long.
I tell you guys notice how similar these two teams are schematically. They're like watching the exact same offense when either team has the football.
Yep. That's probably would have helped a lot in their preparation. We were talking about their timing. They probably went a lot ones against ones because of that very issue. The fact that both are pretty similar on both sides of the ball.
Mike Hart returns as the Michigan running back. Arrington's the motion receiver. Deep drop, in trouble, has to try and drop it off. Incomplete. He had a tight end, Tyler Ecker, in the neighborhood, so that was not intentional grounding.
One of the decisions that Lloyd Carr made coming into this year was to make a change in the coaching staff. We talked a lot about Ron English, but Mike DeBoer, the offensive coordinator from Michigan, has done a tremendous job this year for the Wolverines. It's always a goal for an offense like this, kind of a pro-style offense, to have balance. 189 yards rushing per game, 186 passing, and that balance has gotten them to this point.
Brian Cushing is off the field on this 3rd down. End zone. Knocked away. Arrington was the intended target, and Mosique McCurtis.
McCurtis pretty fortunate that the ball was thrown low enough that there wasn't enough air underneath it, because Arrington had him beat, but it hits him in the back of the shoulder pad.
And Mosique McCurtis, fortunate, never really looked back at that football, but as you said it hit him in the back of the head.
Yeah, Nick Holt said that's usually your head. 4th down now. Garrett Rivas for a 43-yarder to tie it. And with the fans from Michigan watching, he knocks the score with 13:35 to go in the first half. Michigan and USC, the 93rd Rose Bowl game, presented by Citi. Well, here's program reminder. The Knights of Prosperity, 5 regular Joes coming up with a perfect plan to finance their dreams. They're going to rob Mick Jagger. New comedy coming to ABC Wednesday at 9, 8 Central. You folks, you Notre Dame fans, you might want to set your TiVo. for that one.
Yeah, Brent, we had a chance to watch that the other night. You know, I'm pretty easy to get along with. I liked it. Even a tough critic like you. You came away from that enjoying that show, didn't you?
Is he pretty tough?
Oh, he's brutal. But, I mean, it brought a smile to his face now.
I did. I like the fact that Mick Jagger made fun of himself in there. I thought that was the best part of it. You know, I'd like to know what kind of a check they had to write him to do that. Here's a kickoff now, and it is fielded at the 4 by Gable, the freshman. Looking for daylight. Makes a fine return to the 33-yard line. Matt Leinart, one of the Heisman Trophy winners, rookie in the National Football League with the Arizona Cardinals, as we see the timeline for the Trojans. Not only Leinart, but Bush and Lindell White gone. So John David Booty and the running back committee opened it up, won their first 6 games, and then in Corvallis, Oregon State, Coach Riley got it done. Won his next 4. Beat up on some pretty good teams and then lost in a shocker to UCLA, but this is their 31st Rose Bowl appearance. 21 wins. Here they are, first down and 10. Deadlock. John David Booty, their junior quarterback. He'll be back next year. So many of the stars on these 2 teams will be back next year. That's why many of the experts across the country fully believe that the winner of this game will wind up the preseason number 1. Remember, a year ago, down at the Fiesta Bowl, it was Ohio State beating up on Notre Dame. They rode that to a number 1 ranking. Now, what's important about that? You say, well, let me tell you something. If you start out number 1 and you happen to lose early, it's much easier to climb back up than if you start down there. Think of where Michigan had to start, all the way down from 14th. They were put down as the season started. So it is important, even though coaches don't like to talk about it. Second down and 9 after the run by Gable. Jarrett again in front of Leon Hall and very close to a first down.
Brent, you talk about those juniors deciding to come back. That's one guy, Dwayne Jarrett, right there, that most people think is going to come out in the NFL draft. This is a huge game. I mean, this is a money game for him today, Kirk, because he struggled the last time out against UCLA.
I don't know if he happened to see Calvin Johnson earlier today, but if he did, he realizes he better step up a little bit, because Calvin Johnson and Dwayne Jarrett, if they come out, are the top 2 receivers in the country.
Steve Smith lined up in the backfield. They used him as a decoy, and they lined up Alan Bradford, the fullback. And that was number 21, has been very, very impressive in the Trojan practices. Pete Carroll warning us yesterday that they were going to get Bradford onto the field, and he picks up the first down. They had Smith lined up back at that tailback spot that time.
You know, you could talk about Dwayne Jarrett. Keyshawn Johnson told him to stay in school. Flat said he's not ready right now to come out in the NFL.
Keyshawn just doesn't want extra competition. He tells every receiver to stay in. Right? Exactly. First down and 10. Play fake, Gable. Middle, and hung on to. Beautiful catch by Chris McFoy.
Kirk, that was an unbelievable catch by McFoy, because he didn't look back to the football till the last second. He didn't expect the ball to come to him.
But the key here is the play action. They've been running. Look at the linebackers right there come up on C.J. Gable, giving a nice hole for the quarterback Booty to throw it right over top of the linebackers. And a nice job looking back by McFoy. Catch that football and be prepared to be hit by Behringer.
First down. Right straight ahead into the heart of that Wolverine defense that time. C.J. Gable.
We talk mindset in college football all the time. Michigan's defense, arguably one of the finest defenses in the country, if not the best defense. And we wondered, how would USC's offensive line, after the game they had against UCLA, how would they perform against Alan Branch or Lamar Woodley? And through the first quarter plus, they've held their own. It really makes you wonder if that was more mental in their approach against UCLA than it was physical.
Well, Pete Carroll said, and Lane Kiffin said, they just weren't prepared to play.
They were not there.
UCLA.
Yep.
4 wide, thrown behind the receiver, and it'll be third down. Let's check in down below with Lisa.
Well, Brent, you were talking about Dwayne Jarrett. He says that he is about 50-50 about whether he's going to actually stay for his senior season or turn pro. He says he'll go home after this game, go to New Jersey, and make the decision with his family. He says everyone has an opinion, and he's right. Coach Davey was right. Keyshawn Johnson, I talked to him today, and Keyshawn said, you know what, as a player, in my opinion, Dwayne Jarrett is just not ready for the NFL. Keyshawn said, no disrespect, I'm just trying to tell the truth. He's not physical enough. He can play on Sundays, but he's not going to be an impact player right now at the next level. Right?
Saw that with Mike Williams. He wasn't ready.
3rd down and 8. Slant for the first down. In Williams' case, let me go back on that story. Pete Carroll had told me he's not fast enough for the NFL, and then he wound up thinking he was going to get to go because of Maurice Clarett, and he had to sit out an entire year. He made a terrible mistake as far as his football future is concerned. I find him an entirely different topic than Dwayne Jarrett. I think Dwayne Jarrett, I don't agree with Keyshawn Johnson, to tell you the truth. Now, if he comes back to school, that's wonderful. That's fine. But I think he is ready physically if he wants to try it. First down, he can go after the jump ball as well as any receiver in college football.
And he's starting to separate now from defenders more than he did early in his career.
John Davis in trouble. Fumble. Ball loose. Wolverines have got it. And that is big Alan Branch. Sean Crable ripped it loose.
Well, Ron English takes a chance here as USC starts to drive deep into Michigan territory. They bring all the linebackers on a blitz. It allows Crable to get there, Harris to get there. The offensive line that time not prepared, and Branch comes up with the recovery for the Wolves.
Our first turnover of the afternoon. And the Wolverines duck a bullet.
Exclusive coverage of the Rose Bowl game presented by Citi. Brought to you by Citi. It's easier to get the rewards you want. Chevrolet, an American revolution. Blockbuster Total Access, now offering movies through the mail, plus movies through the store. And Aflac. Ask about it at work.
The skyline of Los Angeles in the background as we pull back over the hills to Pasadena. Between this stadium and downtown Los Angeles, Dodger Stadium. We just had our first turnover of this game. Neither team has a penalty. And the running game unable to get it going in the Michigan side.
And Ron English saying he wanted to get more aggressive. Here come the linebackers, Harris, and it's really Crable coming in and applying the pressure. And this offensive line this time, 2 of the tight ends going out. They did not recognize the blitz, and he dials up a maximum blitz with the linebackers on 1st and 10.
And a huge difference in this football game is turnover margin. Michigan number 2 in the country. USC all the way down number 42 in the country as far as turnover margin.
Clay Matthews is in the game, the sophomore. 2nd down. Henney's in trouble. Sacked again. Cushing back on the field. In there along with Keith Rivers. So Brian Cushing with his 2nd big play of the afternoon.
It's a 3-step drop. The quarterback wants to get rid of the ball quickly. The only problem is when Rivers comes on the blitz, Maualuga gets right into the throwing lane of the quarterback, Chad Henne. Right there, he sees Maualuga, forces him to hold on to the football and giving the pressure time to get after the quarterback.
Yeah, you're never going to ask Mike Hart to hold that block that long. That ball should have been out of there, Kirk.
Need 15 on this 3rd down. Steps up, fires, and he's got his first down in the middle of the field. Preston working against Ray. Maualuga, number 58, the sophomore from Eureka, California.
And the great thing Chad Henne did again, he stepped up, He didn't look to scramble. He steps up to make the throw. That's the toughest thing on a defense right there.
It's the second time, Coach, that we've seen this on 3rd down and long. The offensive line doing a great job giving Henne the time and the ability to step into the pocket towards the defense, and the defense was not able to stop his wide receivers again from the 3rd down conversion.
So a 22-yard gain for the Wolverines, and a deep drop under pressure, sacked again. 3rd time he's been sacked today, this time by Terrell Thomas coming off the corner, number 28. Cushing with a pair and Thomas with one.
We keep saying blitz and blitz and blitz. Both these teams are coming up with pressure packages. This time it's a corner blitz from Terrell Thomas. The offensive line and the backs not on the same page. An easy sack that time for Thomas, Coach.
Well, what happens? Both offenses are trying to keep the defenses off balance by throwing on 1st and 10, but the defensive coordinators know that, so they blitz them on 1st and 10.
Let me correct myself. That's the 4th. I had forgotten the Sarge sack also earlier. So that's the 4th sack of the game. 2nd down and 18 for Henne and the Wolverines. Minor going nowhere. 3rd down and long. Cushing another stop.
This offensive line has struggled here early in this game of giving their quarterback consistent time to throw the football. Brent just brought it up. 4 sacks already, and we're not even to the half. It reminds me so much of the Rose Bowl from a couple years ago where USC sacked Michigan 9 times. John Navarre was dropping back, and every time he dropped back, he was on his back.
Henne's had a couple of big 3rd down strikes. Needs another one here. Needs 15 yards. Needs to reach the Wolverine 48. Instead, the 5th sack of the game. This one by Ellis. The first by a defensive lineman.
And Cedric Ellis, who was voted the defensive lineman of the year by the other players in the Pac-10, comes up with the next sack.
This time it's again a little bit of a stunt. They move Jackson to the outside. Again, creating havoc, creating confusion, making an offensive line go from being aggressive to be hesitant. When you get an offensive line hesitant, you can apply pressure on the quarterback every single time he drops back.
Let's see how close they get to this punt. Desmond Reed awaits a return. They should have good field position, so they really don't put an all-out press on it. Desmond's got it with his 29-yard line for the Trojans. To the sideline where he is stopped. And that was David Harris, the middle linebacker, coming down on punt coverage that time. So we'll take a break. We're deadlocked at 3. The storyline, defense dominating this game. Welcome back to the Rose Bowl game, presented by Citi. You know, folks, we'd like to acknowledge Bill Johnstone, the chairman of the Rose Bowl Management Committee. He's responsible for the overall management of this great game. He will leave his post here today, tournament member for more than 4 decades. And what a wonderful gentleman he is. And he has, through the years, really taken care of ABC television and taken the lead in the tournament's relationship with the BCS. And we got to thank Bill for his many years of service. He is just a grand gentleman. 1st down and 10 for John David Booty and the Trojans. Coming with Gable on 1st down, trying to run the ball. And let's take a little moment here for our Aflac trivia question. Now, Kirk, you weren't around when we came up with this one, but who was the last Michigan Wolverine to have his jersey number retired? You might have a little problem remembering that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I may have. Oh, I love you. Every time I come up here.
Well, you leave me
I
for
can
a couple
count on
weeks, you
it.
leave me alone. You know, I'm going to get you now. 2nd down. Quick snap to Jarrett. Jarrett breaking free of Morgan Trent for a couple of additional yards, close to midfield on that play, and enough for a 1st down. Not a single penalty yet in this football game.
You have to love the way this USC offense, I know they only have 3 points, but they have bounced back from that UCLA game. A lot of people felt like they needed to get their swagger back. You kind of feel them starting to get that back right now.
Well, certainly on their defense with those 5 sacks, Coach, huh? 1st down and 10, and here's the handoff to the freshman. Not much doing there. into the heart of the defense. And you can see Burgess is there with Terrence Taylor. Terrence, big old defensive lineman, number 67. There's John David Booty. He'll be back to quarterback the Trojans next year. And Taylor will come off to the side now. Hand signals coming in from Sarkisian on the far side. He'll look at the wristband. There he is. Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin dialing up the plays. 2nd down, 9 yards to go. 2 wideouts. Washington is the running back. That's Smith going through the formation, and here comes Washington. Ran up the back of his own man because I'll tell you what, Branch is just blowing them up. You mentioned it, Kirk, during the commercial break that that offensive line got hands full with number 80 now.
Well, the young sophomore Shiloh Rochelle has the unfortunate assignment going head-to-head against number 80 Alan Branch. And it is early in this game has been a clinic where Branch is just pushing him time after time into the backfield of USC.
And Brent, let's go back to what Lloyd Carr told us his advice was for Alan Branch. He said, I don't know if you're coming out. I don't know if you're coming back to Michigan, but you need to have a great game in this Rose Bowl. It's in your best interest.
3rd down and 9, and so far he has played a great game.
Michigan had 10 defenders on the field. They're very fortunate that SC didn't get the ball snapped there.
That's their first timeout.
And they noticed it down on the field, Kirk, just like you did.
Yeah.
And they called that timeout from the sideline. So they'll huddle up and try to get straightened out here with 11 against John David Booty and the Trojans.
That's not going to make Ron English very happy, the miscommunication.
Oh, it made him less happy if they'd have snapped that ball.
Right. Timeout. Well, it's time for that Aflac answer, and if you're a Michigan fan, you know the answer to this one. The last Michigan Wolverine to have his jersey number retired, the late President Gerald Ford, number 48, and Bob Davie is still trying to think of another 48 around the country.
No, I have one because I coached one at Texas A&M.
Oh, okay.
What the bet I made to Brent was, I bet you can't name another player that wore number 48.
Well, he may have been the best right there now. Gerald Ford, they tried to get him to go to the NFL, as you know.
Exactly.
He turned him down and went to law school at Yale. And then was a longtime congressman from the state of Michigan and became president of the United States when the late Richard Nixon stepped away. What a nice man. Gerald Ford used to come around ball game. He was such a nice man. John David Booty, far side incomplete. No receiver down there.
Was still a little confusion there from Michigan. Rondell Biggs unsure and going back to the left and back to the right before the snap. He's now walking off the field and talking with Brandon Harrison. I think there was still a little confusion, and Michigan fortunate it did not catch up to them there.
These offenses are so well coached that confusion confused John David Booty. So it was probably a pretty good defensive call.
Yeah. Go out there and look lost.
One thing that's been good so far has been the tackling by both these teams. Woidnick does not get off a good punt. And it's going to be down at the 26-yard line. Breston was back there, and he was probably very conscious of number 15, and that's only a 24-yard punt. So we'll take a break in the first half. The Rose Bowl in Pasadena on a beautiful Monday afternoon. Happy New Year, everybody.
Welcome back to the Rose Bowl, everyone. John Saunders here with Craig James and Doug Flutie. Coming up at halftime, we're going to break down the first half.
Well, including looking at USC's defense. Question mark for me was, would they show up? I'll show exactly what they've done.
Oh, yeah, they've got 5 sacks. They got to get this quick rhythm passing in this game. We're going to have a lot of sacks in this game.
Low scoring, a bit of a surprise. We'll talk about that. Plus, we'll show you highlights of all the other games played today. Right now, back up to Brent.
Doug and Craig, go get my man some hot tea, a little honey in it. Take care of him. I'll tell you what, John, he's playing a little hurt today, isn't he? Huh?
Yeah.
He's a gamer now, John Saunders. We'll hear from the fellows at halftime. 2:13 to go here in the first half. First down and 10. Reaching for the handoff. Here's Hart, who's had very little running room. This USC defense determined to take number 20 away. That's 8 carries for 16 yards. Average only 2 yards a carry against this rough defense with Keith Rivers there, number 55.
So we could talk all we want about rhythm, passing, and what they need to do as far as giving Henny time to throw. I think it comes down to Mike DeBoer being able to establish the run in this second. Once we get into this halftime, moving into the second half, Michigan's offense cannot function without Mike Hart establishing some rhythm to then go back to Chad Henne and have the balance within that offense.
Empty. Throw it to Preston. Short of the first down marker. Clay Matthews is back there.
And Kirk, what you say is exactly right. I mean, let's face it, Michigan is a run-first offense. They run the ball about 64% of the time. I thought Michigan, quite honestly, would be able to run the ball on USC. But I'll tell you what, USC's defense has done a great job.
You know, remember at the top of the broadcast, I said that Pete Carroll was concerned about Dallas Sartz. He had a sack early, but he has not been on the field for some time as Clay Matthews steps in. So we'll have to keep an eye on that story. 3rd down and 2. Here's Hart. Won't get it. Blown up first by Kerry Harris, the corner. Terrific job by the corner on run support there, Kirk.
Absolutely. Harris is there to fill the void there. Kevin Ellison is a team guy himself. He takes on the block from the fullback. It frees up Harris to come in, and then the rest of the defense from USC. And, Coach, you can see the speed and the pursuit of that defense.
Kirk, and again, these two offenses so similar. There is no surprises in this game for these defenses, and they are teeing off right now.
USC will take its first time out of the game. A 4th down coming up. We want to see what they can do with the few remaining seconds. Well, fans, help decide the Pontiac game-changing performance of the year. Go to ESPN.com, and don't we all go there for scores, the highlights, all that stuff. And you vote there. Search Pontiac, I guess, is what you latch on to now to determine which school will win the $100,000 General Scholarship Fund contribution, courtesy of Pontiac. And those are some pretty good game-changing performances right there. Those 4. Kirk, you got any favorites among those 4? Which way would you go there?
The game that I left for game day to come up to join you guys in Happy Valley. Remember the night Penn State played Michigan? The game Florida and Auburn, when Auburn came up with a big play there, that one sticks out to me. But there's so many great plays all year this year.
Let's talk a little bit about defense now. How about the defense in this game? And you know what defense is about? Having good players and recognition of what the offense is going to do. And because these offenses are so similar, these defenses are getting after it.
Imagine having a long layoff and then playing the best defenses that you've seen all year.
Well, and Brent made the point. The tackling in this game has been outstanding, and that was the big concern coming in, particularly for Michigan, who didn't tackle well against Ohio State.
Let's go back to punt again. Booms this one. And Reed signals early for a fair catch. I guess he wants to give the offense as many seconds as he can on that clock here with time running out. 29 seconds to go. 54-yard punt. So now John David Booty, when you're thinking, of course, of the big target, Dwayne Jarrett, Steve Smith is more the precise route runner. And if they can get Jarrett downfield, of course, the Wolverines are very aware of this. Their secondary will back off the line here, coach, a little bit.
Yeah, and I think Lamar Woodley's going to get all those cleats in the ground right now and rush that passer if Booty hangs back there too long. I think USC may just run this thing out.
And they did. They didn't like their field position. They did just that, coach. C.J. Gable, the freshman running back. So I don't believe I've seen a half in a long time. We didn't have a single penalty in this game, folks. We had a couple of field goals. We also didn't have a single touchdown. But trust me, it'll get explosive in the second half here before this one's done. Oh, the Wolverines coming off to their near side dressing quarters. Let's go down to Lisa with Coach Pete Carroll.
Thanks a lot, Brent. Coach, 5 sacks by your defense. You got to be pleased. How has your defense been able to get so much pressure in on Henny?
Well, the guys are hitting the stuff real well. We've been coming after him a little bit, and we've been fortunate that the guys are popping, and then just when we're not, we're getting good heat. So we're pretty fortunate right now. They're going to change up some stuff. We better bring some new things in the second half.
All right, thanks a lot. Now let's send it over to Bonnie Bernstein.
Coach, your line's allowed just 18 sacks of Henny the entire season. What's USC done to penetrate so well?
They're doing a great job penetrating, and we've had a hard time running the football, and certainly we've got to do a better job protecting the quarterback. We've had some guys open, but we just haven't had enough time to throw the ball.
Speaking of your running back, 100-yard games are pretty much the norm for Mike Hart. How do you open up the lanes a little bit more?
Well, we got to block them, and it's pretty simple.
Coach, thank you. Brent.
Bonnie, thank you. 5 sacks resulted in 33 yards of losses. So stay tuned for the Pontiac Performance halftime show with John Saunders, Craig James, and Doug Flutie after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Welcome back to the Rose Bowl, presented by Citi, where we have a 3-3 tie at halftime between USC and Michigan. Now a look at the the Michigan marching band with their director, Jamie Nix. The University of Michigan marching band, John Saunders, Craig James, and Doug Flutie. I probably sound like I've been playing with the band all day long, but I haven't. We talked about these high-powered offenses coming into this game, but it's been the defenses controlling.
And remember what I said. I go, USC, are they going to show up physically and be there? Are they going to accept the challenge of this Michigan offense? USC's defensive line and their linebackers have been outstanding. The sacks that they've come in here and produced have really set the tempo for USC. They've been in the backfield. Chad Henne's had no time to throw the football. He's not been able to see the open receivers down the field, and because of that, they've dominated. Michigan's offensive line is playing on their heels. This is an offensive line that has generated 189 yards per game on the ground. Today, Michigan's offensive line has produced -9 yards rushing. So, right now USC's defense has dominated. They've played physical. They've accepted the challenge, Doug.
Well, the solution for that, what you have to get to offensively, is positive yards on first down. And how do you do that? Quick rhythm passing. Get the ball out of your hands, stay in good down and distance. Both teams defensively are getting to the quarterback. Just USC's doing a better job of getting the ball out quickly, even though they had the one turnover and cost them some points. They're getting the ball out quicker. Michigan has to get the ball out quicker.
Michigan's defense obviously is doing a good job. as well. What do these offenses have to do? We heard what Doug said.
You know what? When you talk about USC, I believe right now they're probably happy with where they are in this game, because when they came in, they had to really figure out where do we stand. The turnover did hurt them, no question about that. But this is a game where USC can go in and with confidence make some adjustments. Pete Carroll showing you why he's the coach he is. Remember, these are the greatest players coming out of high school that are playing at USC. They're just young at many positions.
You got to find a way to get the ball in your receiver's hand. The receivers are the big play guys for both teams. So that get the ball out of the quarterback's hands, block it up the best you can up front, get the ball out.
I expect a lot more offense in the second half, despite how well the defenses have played in the first half. Stick around. When we come back, we'll continue with more halftime. We will have highlights of other games being played today, including Bobby Knight and his major milestone. You're watching ESPN on ABC. John Saunders, Craig James, and Doug Flutie here, and little Tommy Trojan sticking that one in, hoping his team can stick one into the end zone, which neither team has been able to do, and that's why we are tied at 3-3. We'll talk more about the game in a moment, but some other games played today. One earlier on ABC, the Capital One Bowl, and in this one, Wisconsin coming onto the field, and John Stocco had a great day. He expected the running, but Stocco took over.
Yeah, he did. You know what? Stocco was the guy that came out and really shined. It was P.J. Hill, we thought, who was going to be the guy, but in the end here, it came out to be John Stocco who set the tempo for them.
Stocco 33 yards on this one, Doug, to Travis Beckham.
Yeah, another beautiful throw for a touchdown. He made the plays when he had the opportunity. He struggled a little in the beginning of the second half, but he made enough plays to win the ball game.
Wisconsin with the win. The Gator Bowl, West Virginia and Georgia Tech. High scoring. Pat White, touchdown pass to Brandon Miles.
It was not West Virginia early on. All Georgia Tech. West Virginia had to come back. Pat White really led this charge, as he's done many times in West Virginia games.
Through the air and on the ground there, 15 yards with that run. And Pat White, and they're glad they got Rich Rodriguez hanging around as well. Cotton Bowl, Auburn facing Nebraska. Tommy Tuberville brings his team on the field. Brandon Cox, 10 yards to Carl Stewart.
You know, Auburn didn't do a heck of a lot in the first half, but they got it rolling in the second half, enough to win. A couple turnovers by Nebraska really hurt them in the first half of that ball game.
Stewart from a yard out. Auburn wins it 17-14. The Outback Bowl, Tennessee against Penn State. Arian Foster will fumble the ball as you look at Joe Pa looking on from the press box. It's recovered by Tony Davis, who returns it 88 yards for a touchdown.
And at this point in the game, Tennessee's going in. Looks like they may take the lead, and Penn State's defense comes up big. Anthony Morelli today, though, he had a good game throwing, and Jopa from the press box cheers on his ball club.
Yes, another victory. Meanwhile, we'll turn to basketball. And Bobby Knight and Texas Tech facing New Mexico. Jarius Jackson makes a three-pointer, 70-68 with 2 minutes left. The celebration is on as Bob Knight wins for the 880th time. He is now #1 all-time in victories. All right, second half, we have a 3-3 game. What adjustments do you expect for both teams to make?
I think it really starts on the outside. You know, Doug, you're talking about throwing the ball quick. I thought about that. Maybe, you know, get the ball out their hands. I think the wide receivers for both teams have to work harder. I've seen the corners, the secondary for both squads dominate the wide receivers. I think it's up to the wide receivers to come out and set the pace, because if they can catch some short balls, catch a fade maybe late down the field, that's going to open up the running game.
Yeah, but you can't totally give up on the run. That's the fact. And Michigan is big enough up front. They are getting some push. It appears like they have the ability to run the ball, even though the numbers don't say so. The bottom line is get the ball out of the quarterback's hands on both sides. I think USC has done a great job of mixing up their blitzes to put the pressure on.
You know what? Pressure, you know, the pressure right now is on both quarterbacks. They do have to make plays, but the defenses have the edge. They've got the confidence.
Yeah, defenses are in the locker room right now saying, we're playing our game. Guys, where's our offense coming out? The second half is coming up in a moment, but first we're going to have a visit with ABC News and Terry Moran.
Thanks, John, and good afternoon, everyone. President Ford's widow Betty and their 4 children returned to the United States Capitol today for one more moment there on this, the final day that the remains of the former president will lie in state. Earlier, President Bush and First Lady Laura Bush paid their respects after returning from vacation in Crawford, Texas. Former Presidents Clinton and Bush also visited the casket after private visits with the Ford family. Over the past couple of days, thousands of people have come to the public viewing at the Capitol Rotunda to say goodbye to the former president. President Ford's children, Susan and Michael, actually spent some time this morning greeting mourners as they filed past the casket. On Tuesday morning, Ford's remains will rest outside the Senate chamber before a funeral service at the Washington National Cathedral. ABC News live coverage of the national funeral service for President Ford will start tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern. I'm Terry Moran in New York, and back to Pasadena after this.
Hi, my name is Shannon. Hi, my name is Denzel. We're from the Los Angeles chapter of a nationwide group called the After School All-Stars. The After School All-Stars provides fun, safe after-school activities for kids just like us. We get help on our homework, play sports, and make new friends too.
After School All-Stars has inspired thousands of middle school students to succeed in life. Thank you, City, ESPN, ABC, and the Tournament of Roses for inviting us here today and inspiring the All-Stars of tomorrow.
And here are the after-school All-Stars enjoying today's Rose Bowl. Now, right now, the Trojan Marching Band, 270 members strong on the field. The director, Dr. Arthur C. Bartner. Let's give a listen. The USC Marching Band here at the Rose Bowl. And we are tied at 3. USC with the game's first field goal. Then Michigan tied it up in the second quarter. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
The Pontiac Performance Halftime Report, brought to you by Pontiac. Vote now for the Pontiac Game-Changing Performance of the Year. A $100,000 scholarship contribution is on the line. Stay tuned for the Sprint First Half Music Highlights, featuring a special performance by U2. After this message and a word from our ABC stations. Now, time for the First Half Music Highlights presented by Sprint, featuring a special performance by U2. See the complete premiere of U2's performance at ESPN.com. Search Rose Bowl video.
low-scoring first half with Bob Davie and Kirk Herbstreit. I'm Brent Musburger, back at the Rose Bowl game presented by Citi. Bob, what surprises you the most in this game?
What surprises me the most, 0 penalties, only 1 turnover, and the tackling has been outstanding. 3 things that you normally worry about in a bowl game because of the long layoff. This shows me there's 2 focused football teams out here, even though there's not a lot of points in this game.
You know, and I know you're a defensive guy, and I love to see good defense. And if you missed the first half, this was not sloppy offense for a 3-3 halftime score. This was outstanding defense on both sides of the ball. If I'm a quarterback in this game, or I'm a senior offensive lineman, I'm going to get right into the face of my offensive lineman and challenge them, because both offensive lines were completely dominated in the first half. Whoever comes out in the second half better prepared on the offensive line is going to win this game.
Home Depot coaching adjustments, and let's start with Michigan, Kirk.
It goes back to the point about being able to establish the running game. Michigan cannot win a football game without having the ability to run the football to set up the pass.
And if I'm Pete Carroll, I throw the football in the second half. We tried to run it in the first half. Michigan #1 in rush defense in the country. Booty's got his confidence back. The pass protection has been pretty good. We are a pass-first team. Let's throw the football if I'm SC.
John David Booty, 10 of 16 in the first half for 102 yards. No touchdowns, obviously, and no interceptions. And he will handle the ball to start the second half. Chad Henne on the other side was 8 of 12, 85 yards. And no interceptions either. Just that 1 turnover was a fumble by USC. And so Garrett Revis with the ball on the tee. The sun starting to set here in Pasadena. And this will come out on the 20-yard line for John David. So our first half stats here, Kirk, and they look this way.
Well, the thing that stands out, of course, is at the bottom here where you see 5 sacks for the University of Southern California. And you think about that and you'd think, boy, what a great advantage. They must be winning this game. But because of the way Michigan's defense has played, Coach, no penalties for either team. We've got a tight ball game.
And that's the great news for Michigan. It's only 3-3. They're a run-first team, Kirk, so they don't have to abandon what they do best. Run the football, even though they're struggling right now on offense.
They open with Jarrett in the slot. Patrick Turner is the 3rd wideout, along with Steve Smith. So 3 wide for the Trojans. And they will put it up on first down. Smith coming through the formation. And he's run out of bounds on the 29-yard line. Willis Behringer, the safety. So the impact players for the Trojans, their big 3. There we gave you John David's numbers. CJ, he has been held down to only 17 rushing yards. But take a look at Dwayne Jarrett. 6 catches already for 58 yards. Now a second down and short, but just as you suggested, Bob, they put it up on first down.
Yeah, and remember, Michigan gave up 316 yards passing and 4 touchdowns to Ohio State. Roll the football.
Gable is the tailback, trying to get the first down, and Michigan defense very stout. Prescott Burgess, number 6, is in there. Short of the first down, and now the Trojans will face a 3rd down. They have used as a fullback Alan Bradford, the freshman from San Bernardino. He goes off to the side now.
It's amazing. USC had gone 63 straight games of scoring more than 20 points. Prior to the UCLA game, they scored 9. Here they are stuck on 3, but against a great defensive team.
Mike Brittingham in at fullback the last time in. They threw to him, but he is lined up in a power fullback formation here. And he'll lead the way for Gable, and the Wolverines jump the play at the point of attack. Terrence Taylor gets there first, number 67, the sophomore from Muskegon.
And this is the #1 rushing defense in the country. And I mean, they just attacked the line of scrimmage. The big nose guard, Terrence Taylor, at 315 pounds in the middle.
So much talk about Alan Branch and Lamar Woodley. Terrence Taylor, often as a sophomore, goes unrecognized.
Woydneck punts it, and Bruston. Fair catch signal at the 31-yard line. And so there, Chad Henne. And the Wolverines will have their first series of the second half. Tied at 3, and 2 defenses dominating here in the Rose Bowl. The Rose Bowl game presented by Citi. Tied at 3, Mike Hart, averaging just a little over 2 yards a carry. He is in a deep set, you can see, behind Chad Henne. They're going to try him right away. A little bit of a gash. His longest run of the game was the opening offensive play. Ellis making the stop. We look at the Wolverines. We gave you Henne's passing stats. There you can see Mike Hart, 9 carries for 21. Mario Manningham with only 2 catches, Kirk, for 30 yards.
You talked about Mike Hart and Michigan having to establish the run here in this second half. He's the spark plug. He's the emotional leader. I'm sure he is challenging that offensive line to step up and help him out in this offense out.
Manningham's off to the left. They're going to run hard again. Got the first down. So it looks like they picked up the tempo a little bit, but they're running more to the right side, Bob. They favored the left side in that first half.
Well, the other thing, Brent, Mike Hart's one of those guys, the more you give him the ball, even though he's small, the better he gets. 4 times this year, he's had over 30 carries. They're going to put it on his back now in this second half.
And it was one of the first times we've seen since maybe the opening drive, the offensive line getting a good push and getting up to the linebackers there and giving Mike Hart some room to run.
Arrington and freshman Greg Matthews are the wideouts. Matthews is off to Henne's right. They're going to keep it on the ground.
You know, you always talk about in the zone blocking scheme that the running back has to be patient. I also think the play caller has to be patient. There's times when we're going to take the zone away, but then all of a sudden, somebody's going to break down on gap control for the defense, Kirk, and there's your big run. So not only the running back, the play caller has to be patient as well.
And one of the adjustments we've seen here from Michigan early from Mike DeBoard is trying to mix in 2 tight ends and going with Mike Hart back there by himself.
Needing 8 yards. On a play fake, under pressure, wanted the screen, throws a pick. USC ball at the 39-yard line is Lawrence Jackson. The defensive end blows up the screen attempt.
And Pete Carroll comes with the blitz. Both outside linebackers, Keith Rivers and Dallas Sartz from the outside. You see Chad Henne on the little play action. Here comes Sartz, and he panics and throws the football to number 96, Lawrence Jackson. Kirk, but again, the pressure with the double outside linebacker blitz.
Pretty good feel there that time by Jackson as a defensive lineman to read the quarterback's eyes and realize he had his head on a swivel looking for a back, and the ball just happened to hit him right in the chest.
It is possible that it was emphasized to Henne during halftime that he had to get rid of the ball. He rushed that one a little bit. First down and 10 now for John David Booty off a play fake. Completes it to Smith. Picks up about 6 yards on that. Morgan Trent, the defender for the Wolverines. The last time, Bob, that the Trojans stocked the end zone, they turned it over on a fumble.
Exactly. And Brent, you go back to that previous turnover by Michigan. Michigan leads the country in the fewest number of turnovers with only 10 in 12 games. So a great opportunity right here for USC.
Chris Graham comes onto the field defensively. Alan Bradford is out for the Trojans. Play fake. Booty rolls hard to the right, throws in underneath, and picks up the first down with Bradford catching his first pass of the game. So the young man we heard about today from Pete Carroll, he said he liked how he's practiced. He's a redshirt freshman from San Bernardino.
And they are coming out doing exactly what, Coach, you and I talked about at halftime, and you said here at the start of this second half is you leave the running game with the exception of from time to time sprinkling it in to let Michigan know you have that ability to do it. You put the ball into the hands of your quarterback and you mix the play calling up. Try to move the launch point around, which they've done a very good job of moving Booty around here to start this second half.
Straight back. Throws to the big man. First and goal, Dwayne Jarrett. At the 2-yard line, John David Booty delivers a strike 25 yards.
And what is really tough about that, John David Booty rolled away, and a great little head and shoulder fake by Dwayne Jarrett to get inside Morgan Trent.
Dwayne Jarrett sets this up perfectly, and the timing, Booty anticipates that and throws the ball while Jarrett is actually in his cut.
Play stopped on the field. As you know, every play upstairs is reviewed.
The previous play is under review.
So they'll take a look at it, make sure that Jarrett had possession. It's certainly from the naked eye, although we certainly didn't have a look at the front of the reception. So let's take another look at it.
That is once the contact comes over, safety doing a nice job of separating Jarrett from the ball. It's a matter of whether or not his knee is down before the ball comes out.
I thought his right knee was down, but I am certainly not the decision maker in this process. There was no question the ball was loose, but then the whistle blows down there too. So let's not forget that.
Exactly, because the whistle blew, nobody recovered the football.
I think he'll be down right there.
I think they're going to rule that knee was down, and then the football came out.
You know, we'll see. It was the ball was loose in there. I mean, there's no question. And Jack Childress, the ACC referee, has got it, and looks like Lloyd didn't like the news.
After further review, the play stands as called on the field. First down.
So it'll be a 1st and goal from the 2-yard line. Coach Carroll talking to Dwayne Jarrett to go back on a story we covered in the first half. This well could be Dwayne Jarrett's last game. There's a pretty good wide receiver down at Georgia Tech by the name of Johnson, who had a huge game. And on many lists, he would figure to be #1. So a lot of these youngsters have to weigh, if we stay another year, might be next year. Anyway, here comes John David Booty, wide open, touchdown, nothing doing. As Chris McFoy rolls wide open for the touchdown. Breakdown in coverage that time, and John David Booty's first touchdown pass in his last 6 quarters.
The Trojans take advantage of the Michigan turnover.
Danello. Slips it inside the post. So the afternoon's first touchdown boosts the Trojans to a 7-point lead, 10-3, 8:43 remaining in the 3rd quarter.
Exclusive coverage of the Rose Bowl game presented by Citi. Brought to you by Citi. It's easier to get the rewards you want. Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. And Taco Bell. Think outside the bun.
Downtown Pasadena. And we're at the Rose Bowl with USC leading 10-3. John David Booty, the first touchdown of the game on a pass on busted coverage against the Wolverine defense. We'll take another look after the kickoff. Let's see what Bruston can do if he handles it. Beeler with the ball on the tee. He's handled the kickoff duties today for USC. High and short. Here comes Bruston from the 12. Surrounded short of the 20-yard line. Tremendous coverage. Let's go back to the score.
And this play action on the touchdown is really difficult to defend for this defensive back right here playing man-to-man coverage. He gets action right at him, but Chris McFoy runs away from him, and that's stealing right there. Throw and catch.
McFoy getting away from the defender, and the play side defenders, I think, were consumed with Fred Davis, the tight end who was right in front of them. They all collapsed up front, making an easy throw to McFoy in the back of the end zone.
Trailing for the 2nd time this afternoon. Chad Henne changing it at the line. Running Hart. And there was Mawaluga as we check in with Bonnie Bernstein. Bonnie?
Well, Brent, Michigan defensive coordinator Ron English up in arms after the busted play on that touchdown. That was example A of what it has driven him crazy the entire season. He said, we have veterans in the secondary, yet they haven't paid heed to the analogy that if you touch the hot stove once, you don't go back to the hot stove. You're supposed to follow your guy, play hard, execute, follow the goals we set at the beginning of the season. He doesn't have an explanation for what happened, but unfortunately, it's been a bad pattern for Michigan's pass defense all year.
Second down and 8 coming up for Henne. And incidentally, Dallas Sarch, number 42, is back on the field. He missed most of the second quarter. Here's Hart. And he is being taken down by Keith Rivers, the junior from Lake Mary, Florida. He's a youngster who got away from the Gators. It was between Florida and USC, he told us, and he opted to come west.
And Keith Rivers told us he went back home to Orlando, Florida over the Christmas break. Took a lot of grief from the Gator fans. But that time, again, one thing the zone play usually does, zone blocking, it takes away penetration. And that time, Keith Rivers just shot the gap.
Those linebackers are flying downhill right now to Michael Hart before he even has his hands on the ball.
3rd and 7. Henne and the Wolverines need to get beyond the 30. In trouble, under pressure, incomplete, and it could have been picked off. That was Thomas. And a shot at it. Manningham, the intended target. Henne under enormous pressure.
This is starting to remind me of the USC-UCLA game that you guys did about a month ago, but on the other side this time.
The opposite, because both defensive ends, Lawrence Jackson and Kyle Moore, almost forced that thing into an interception right there.
Nice blitz again, mixing up the looks, confusing the offensive line is exactly what Pete Carroll wants to do.
Now Mesko, early on in this game, he was under enormous pressure. Here's Reed from the 40. Penalty. Illegal block was thrown. That is the first penalty of this Rose Bowl game. And it came with 6:26 remaining in the third quarter.
Brent, I think they're going to get Mike Brittingham.
It's our guy.
The fullback who made an impact catching the football on an illegal block in the back right there.
During your return, number 30, blocking the back by the offensive team. That's a 10-yard penalty. First down.
You mentioned the first penalty of the game, a pretty obvious one right there with the block in the back.
So the Trojans will come up. After the penalty, they'll have the ball on their own 30-yard line. Chad Henne has been under enormous pressure. That's the highlight of the game. Well, we welcome you back to the Rose Bowl game presented by Citi. The sun's starting to set on the granddaddy. 2007. Where does the time go? Well, first down and 10 now for the Trojans. They lead it by a touchdown, and they have done it. Jarrett juggles that one incomplete. They have done it the way Bob Davie suggested that they do it. They've gone airborne in the second half.
They have thrown on 1st and 10 every single time here on the second half, and relying now on John David Booty, his group of wide receivers. That was the advantage coming into the game. If Booty would have time to throw with his offensive line, they felt that they could attack the Michigan secondary, and that's what they're doing here in this second half.
Looks like we've got a timeout called by the Trojans. And John David will go over to Pete Carroll's sideline to talk about it. Now here is the interception which led to the touchdown.
Yeah, this is exactly how Chad Henne did not want to start the second half. Maybe forcing it there, getting rid of the ball a little bit early, and then setting up this easy throw for John David Booty after he threw the SC offense, threw him right down the field with his arm.
But again, it's all generated from the pressure. That interception was a direct byproduct of the pressure that Pete Carroll has continued to bring on this Michigan offense. And You know, one thing if you're Michigan's offense, and I talked to Lloyd Carr about this yesterday, when you commit to the zone running game, you only have 2 running plays, an inside zone and an outside zone. And the fear is when someone takes that away, what do? You don't have a counter. You don't have a lot of misdirection plays. And right now, USC has been able to take that zone running play away.
And Lisa, a lot of smiles over there on the USC sideline.
That's right, Brent. It was that play. That's when this USC sideline came alive. Players, it had been pretty quiet down here until that point. After that defensive interception and leading to the touchdown, players no longer just standing on the sideline. They are waving their arms, jumping up and down on every play. Tight end coach Brennan Carroll even jumped up on the bench, turned to the crowd, waved his arms and said, "Wake up, too quiet in here." Brent?
Well, the Wolverines, who have lost 3 straight bowl games under Lloyd Carr, are down 10-3 right now with the defense on the field. And there's our second penalty, folks. You can book it.
That's a pretty good penalty, getting that 315 pounds moving in one direction. Right?
I'd say.
Offside, number 67, back contact, 5-yard penalty, still second down.
Michigan is without a sack. We've talked a lot about the USC. 5 sacks in the first half for 33 yards and losses. This very good Wolverine defense is without a sack of John David Booty. They have moved the pocket with John David a little bit, but he has played very well. His release has been quick. His running backs have blocked well to protect. 2nd down and 5 for the Trojans. There's a play fake. There's Booty rolling again. Throwing in underneath. Picking up Davis for another first down. And there is no question, Bob, but that John David Booty is more agile today than he was earlier coming down the stretch against UCLA and Notre Dame.
There is no question, and that's the adjustment USC has made. Again, if you don't blitz against this play action pass, those kind of crossing routes, you see Fred Davis right there, they're virtually unstoppable against zone coverage with no pressure.
I think a lot of people wondered how USC would be able to slow down Michigan's pass rush after the UCLA game. And as we've talked about, it's the snap count, it's chipping on the defensive ends, it's moving Booty around. It's a bunch of different things that have added up to a lot.
Under pressure, hit on the release, incomplete. Booty standing tall in the pocket. That'll be noted by the coaches. They and teammates appreciate and admire toughness. When you know the heat's coming and you stand here like this, you're going to take a licking.
Again, Sean Crable, the outside linebacker at the top. The Fred Davis, they kept the tight end, as Kirk mentioned. He just couldn't block Sean Crable. And fortunate Booty wasn't injured right there because he was in a vulnerable position.
See, I think Ron English is going to start to turn up the heat himself by bringing those linebackers more and more. They've had a lot of success when they have brought number 2.
The short drop, Smith on the snap, runs those precise routes, breaks free. 35-30, brought down from behind at the 21-yard line. Leon Hall, the senior, hauls him down.
And it really reminds me right now of the Ohio State game. The quick pass and then the missed tackles by the Michigan secondary. This is exactly what got him in trouble against Ohio State.
The goal of the game for Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin was to isolate the safeties and the corners, put them in space, utilize the speed of Steve Smith and Dwayne Jarrett, and force those Michigan defensive backs to have to tackle.
1st down and 10. Now it's Booty's turn to change it up. Washington's his running back. On the slant, touchdown USC, Jarrett. Here's a memo to Keyshawn. That'll work in the NFL too.
And how about the check by John David Booty? Michigan went straight man-to-man, and he just went to the slant route. And Dwayne Jarrett with the big body just out-muscled Morgan Trent to the outside.
And a great throw to the inside away from the defender, and that's a mismatch. Dwayne Jarrett against Morgan Trent. You will take that as a quarterback every single time, and all of a sudden, guys, John David Booty is in rhythm, getting back and getting rid of the ball on time.
Danello misses this one off to the right. 16-3 on the missed extra point. So here is Jarrett breaking free. 8 catches, 105 yards, and now a touchdown. Pete Carroll and the Trojans are dominating suddenly. This ESPN production available on ABC HD, presented by Oliva. So the Trojan sideline all smiles. They have scored touchdowns on their last 2 possessions. And they have taken a 16-3 lead as there was a missed extra point. And Bob Davie, the forward pass turned it around.
Well, there's no question USC is a pass-first team, and John David Booty is in his comfort zone right now.
10 passes and only 2 runs. So here comes Bruston. Wolverines need something good to happen right here. He vaults to the 21-yard line.
And Brent, let's take a look at what John David Booty saw at the line of scrimmage. It's a pretty easy read. He sees Morgan Trent, 1 DB right here. The next DB is clear over here, so that means he has all this area to work with no defensive back.
And once he recognizes that and makes the check, it's just a matter of the best receiver in the country, or one of the best receivers in the country, getting physical and just being just a lot stronger than Morgan Trent. He got great position to the inside.
Wait a second. That should have been a penalty right there with that little fadeaway jump shot. It's like the New York Giants thing, right?
It's getting old already. It started about 3 weeks ago.
Chad Henne reaches now to Mike Hart. Back on the left side to the 25-yard line, and Lawrence Jackson, who made that big interception just prior to their first touchdown. Here's Ron English now, trying to keep the troops fired up, trying to keep their heads in the game.
We saw this Michigan team in Columbus down 28-14. We saw a lot of enthusiasm when they came back into the game. He's talking about his jump shots here on the sideline. We saw a lot of enthusiasm in Columbus when they fought back. Right now, we're not seeing any enthusiasm. They need a play to spark them.
2nd and 6. Henne sees the blitzer coming. Steps away from the pressure, drops it in underneath. And Manningham to the 41-yard line, and a 1st and 10 before Thomas turns him upside down.
One of the few times USC doesn't bring pressure, and you actually see the quarterback, Chad Henne, coach, with some time to throw the football.
Exactly, and what bought him even more time, he stepped up again, and you see Mario Manningham on the crossing route right there. Boy, good lick right there by Terrell Thomas, who came into this game with really a separated shoulder.
He did that in the face of a safety blitz from Kevin Ellison. He saw Ellison coming all the way, and Ellison was picked up by Reuben Riley, who did a great job of picking up the blitzer. 1st down and 10 now for the Wolverines. There's that quick strike over to the side. Pick up a couple of yards, but not much, as Keith Rivers is over there with Kerry Harris, the corner, and Manningham quickly escorted by one of the side judges. Good officiating over there.
And I go back to this, the experience of Chad Henne. 37th start. Could come out as a junior, announced already he's coming back to Michigan. A lot of players would panic. I don't think Chad Henne's going to panic. And because of that, Michigan still has a legitimate shot to get back and win this football game.
If the offensive line will help him, he has a shot.
Bruston and Manningham are out of the game right now.
That means they're going to run it, right?
No, Arrington's down there. Fumble on the sack. Jumping in over the top. SC recovered it. No question at the 31. Jack Childress is right there. Brian Cushing, his 3rd sack of the game, forces the fumble.
Brian Cushing, let's try to find him. He comes on an inside twist stunt right there. He looped inside from his defensive end position. He ends up beating Adam Krause, number 57. This is another huge turnover.
And Jackson, Lawrence Jackson, who made the interception, recovers the fumble, and Carroll and the Trojans sideline explode.
This is on its way to being a Pete Carroll clinic film. He's going to be able to use when people come in during spring ball to talk about his blitz schemes. This is exactly how he envisioned this football game going with his defense against his Michigan offense.
1st and 10, and Pete Carroll telling us the other day he's about to bring in what he thinks is his best recruiting class ever. As John David Booty throws a strike, almost one-handed by Jarrett, had the left mid on it. Overled him just a little bit. Jarrett had broken free at the end, and John David knows it. Just a few inches difference, and that would have been another 6.
Well, they had exactly what they wanted right there. A little outside movement and stem back inside, and he beats the safety Willis Behringer. And even when he doesn't catch it, it kind of looks spectacular, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, Behringer bought onto the post corner to the outside, making it so easy. And well, that's one you typically would see Booty and Jarrett connect on.
Now 2nd and 10 for John David. Drops it off in the flat. He overthrows. Was it a lateral? There's a youngster reacting well to that as Gable went after the ball in case it was thrown behind him. And it would have been a free football out of bounds on that side.
Second half, talk about bowl games and intersectional matchups. Pac-10, Big Ten. First half, not so much, but second half, we're seeing a lot of speed from USC against a Michigan defense and an offense that just cannot stay on the field with the USC team right now.
3rd and 10. Complete short of the first down marker. Comes to Fred Davis, his junior tight end from Toledo, Ohio. Brandon Harrison makes a stop.
One guy we need to talk about today is Kyle Williams, number 78, the offensive tackle. I mean, this guy had 3 false starts against UCLA. He was crucified in this city for his performance. He left the team for one day. He came back. It's good to see him playing well and bouncing back.
Going to go for it. 4th down, empty the backfield. They'll have 5 targets for John David.
It's straight man-to-man coverage across the board.
And he keeps it himself. So John David Booty takes it right straight ahead for the first down. Oh, you were talking about the tackle, the right tackle, Kyle Williams over there. Let me see exactly where he got the spot. Did he not get it? Lamar Woodley gets credit for that stop. And you were talking about the tackle, Bob, and Kyle and both Sam Baker. They were both criticized for their performance against UCLA. They have held up very well. There's Kyle, number 78. Here comes this measurement, and I may have miscalled this. Nope, first down.
Not very often you don't hit it right now. Huh? I'm going to tell you what.
I'm starting the second season in the right way.
I know.
I sweat now.
I know.
That was luck. Pure luck.
Well, they felt the pressure from the outside, and what a gutsy call here on 4th down. You're going to rely on Booty, try to a little unorthodox way of picking up a first down, but the pressure, I think he probably he is fired up.
You really think he's going to the Arizona Cardinals now? As much fun as he's having?
I don't think so.
Come on,
he tells me he's got the best recruiting class coming in. First down and 10. Never thought he was going. He keeps telling me he's not going. That's what he's telling everybody. And play fake, in trouble. And incomplete, so it'll be second down. Folks, I want to go back to practice a couple of days ago. We were out at practice. That man right there is the first head coach I have ever seen come down the field on kickoff coverage. Now they weren't in full pads, so don't be misled. But they had about 14 guys coming down. There is Coach Carroll running down on every kickoff. He was trying to strip the ball, and yes, he was blocked a little bit by one player later. Then afterwards, he got into a passing drill. He's had an injured shoulder this year, but he was snapping off strikes. It is really different when you go to a Pete Carroll coach practice, and he really enjoys this. High, incomplete.
And it's actually genuine. I've been to a lot of his practices, and he's the only coach in America that has a loose practice on especially the day before the game, but at the same time
They're getting stuff done. They're moving around. But the fact that it's genuine, the enthusiasm from him, even right now on the sidelines, that is who he is. And that's why I think he is a perfect fit in college football.
He gave me a great answer. I said, how long did it take for the pain of the UCLA loss to go away? He said, you know, within 2 or 3 days, I was back to work. But he said, part of me will never forget. And that's the way it should be when you lose one like that. 3rd down and 10. John David firing middle, strike to the 9-yard line, and a 1st down. That is Smith. So Steve Smith, now he's a senior, and he'll be interesting to watch because he'll get a chance in the National Football League too.
And we talked about Kyle Williams, 78. Right there you see John David Booty step up and deliver the football, something against UCLA he didn't do. He stepped up and panicked right there because Lamar Woodley was coming around the corner.
And a thing that I see that Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin are having John David Booty do, attack the middle of that Michigan defense, right behind the linebackers between the safeties.
Terrific performance by John David. Empty again. High and incomplete. Going to Jarrett. Now it'll be 2nd down and goal.
You know, we were around the football complex. You got the feeling that Mark Sanchez, everybody talks about the backup quarterback, the coaches included, how much talent Mark Sanchez has. I had the feeling coming to this game, John David Booty really did need to play outstanding, or Mark Sanchez might be in this football game.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Sanchez will have a chance, there he is, number 6, to win the job regardless of what happens today. Pete Carroll told us everything is wide open when he comes to spring practice. And with this talented freshman class, he said every job will be up for grabs, including the quarterback, no matter what happens. Throws incomplete. Twice tried to go to Jarrett, and Brandon Harrison was there on number 8. And young, talented wide receiver from New Jersey, New Brunswick, New Jersey.
He says that about his quarterback. And if he wins this game, replacing Matt Leinart with all the offense that they lost, and he finishes with 11 wins and probably close to a top 5 finish, he might say that to try to light a fire to keep him motivated with Mark Sanchez. But it would be tough to take John David Booty after all that game experience from this year out of that lineup for the 07 season.
So here's your 3rd and goal now for the Trojans. And they're going to call a timeout. So they'll use up the 2nd one with 58 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter. We look down on our scene here in Pasadena. This aerial coverage brought to you by Goodyear Tires, featuring triple tread technology. Well, we've talked a lot about USC, and we should mention again what we said at the top of the broadcast. It was our opinion that whoever won this game, will enter next season as the preseason number 1 for a couple of reasons. Both have star players coming back next year, and both have solid recruiting classes coming along. So for those reasons, we would tout the winner of this. And let's take a look now. Here are the players returning next season. Take a look at the list here. You see the 2 question marks at the bottom. Dwayne Jarrett and Alan Branch. So, Coach, what's your feeling about these lists?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever seen this many talented players announce that they're coming back. And to me, that tells me about the chemistry of both of these football teams. And that's why whoever wins this game, in my opinion, will be the number 1 ranked team next season, because players don't come back if the chemistry is not right on the football team.
Well, the thing about USC is they're such a young football team. I mean, Dallas Sarge is one of the few seniors involved in this team. So they're going to all be back. And Michigan had so many of their guys, as Coach talked about, deciding to come back. And that does affect things. Both these teams, regardless of the outcome of this game, are going to be in the top 5. But the winner will be the preseason number 1 team.
3rd down and goal. There's going to be a little bit different kind of pressure up in Michigan, though, if they lose this. We're going to talk about this in the 4th quarter. 3rd down and goal. John David Booty with the backfield empty. Touchdown. No. Wave it off. Thought he had it for a second. I thought Jarrett was going to grab it. They wave it off. So it is 4th down, and they send the field goal unit on the field.
Again, Coach, attacking the middle of the defense where there is just huge voids in the Michigan secondary.
Tell you what, though, Willis Behringer made a great play right there and jarred that football. David Harris coming in really got the football out. But you're right, Kirk. The middle of that field is open right there. How about David Harris? That's a heck of a play for a linebacker.
That is a great play. That's what it'll be like when he plays Sunday football.
Sounds like we're reviewing this.
Yeah, I think that, again, on the college review play, there's not a challenge. They're just reviewing the play. You can take a look as he goes up in the air, grabbed it.
There's a good look at it right here.
Yeah.
Incomplete.
Officials very quick today on the reviews.
And you know,
we appreciate that.
I tell you, Dave Perry made an excellent point. Indisputable evidence is the key. Well, if it's indisputable, they should be able to make the decision that quick, because that is indisputable evidence.
For whatever reason, it's been a challenge throughout the 06 season, but today it's been outstanding.
So here's Danello's field goal attempt. Remember, he just missed an extra point. This is a 26-yarder. Slips this one through. 19-3. Trojans lead it. A quarter and 48 seconds left in Pasadena for the Wolverines, who came in here with a 3-game bowl losing streak. And reminder now, on Wednesday, catch one of the hottest comedies of the season. Everyone needs a little life support. In case of emergency, coming to ABC Wednesday at 9:30, 8:30 Central Time. Now I want to go back to the point we were making about Lloyd Carr and Michigan. What's different about his loss than if Pete Carroll had been on the other? I know we still got a quarter to play, so we don't want to count him out. But remember now, they have lost those 3 straight games to their arch rival, Troy Smith. So we're closing out 3 straight years with back-to-back losses, and that is what got John Cooper in Columbus. Don't forget, there's heavy heat when you lose to your arch rival and then you go into the bowl game and also lose. There's going to be media pressure. Now, I'm not going to say there's going to be any heat within the administration. Bill Martin is very, very loyal to Lloyd Carr, loves what he's done. He's accomplished so much, and I'm not trying to start anything, but I do know that the media and the people on the websites and the bloggers, they're going to come after the coach.
Didn't they all get put away for the year after coming into this season? All we heard about was that Lloyd Carr possibly could get replaced, and all of a sudden he had a year that was very magical until they came up a little bit short in Columbus. I thought we put the bloggers away for a year.
They're going to put them away for an hour and a half. You got to be kidding me.
So they're going to come back, huh? If they don't.
They're tapping away right now.
They're listening to you tapping away.
You know what? I'm not really worried about the bloggers. But I'll tell you this, when you lose your last 2 football games of the year, the only way to get over a tough loss is to win a game. You have to wait an awful long time to play again if you're Lloyd Carr.
Now, remember now, Kirk, you said you thought you'd put him away. That was 2006.
Right. What a new year.
I turned the calendar.
Start. You're right.
They'll be out there on the 20-yard line. Remind at the beginning tomorrow you can download all the action from today's game on iTunes.
Tell you what, Pete Carroll's probably drawing the blitzes up on the sidelines now because Michigan's getting to a point where they have to obviously throw the football.
Trailing by 16. And he rolls out and comes underneath to his tight end. And he blasted out of bounds after a couple-yard gain. Tyler Ecker is hit by Keith Rivers. Keith Rivers, the junior from Lake Mary, Florida, has been very active here for the Trojans.
No, I don't know if you're necessarily surprised that USC's defense is playing well. I mean, again, Pete Carroll telling us all year this is the fastest defense that he's had. What I'm surprised by is the way they've taken the life completely away from Michigan's team. I mean, you look at the sidelines these last couple quarters, and it's just a bunch of maize and blue standing around waiting for their assignment. On the other side of the field, there's a lot of excitement that we've seen in the second half.
Well, what happens when you make a living running the football like Michigan and you're able to take that away? You take away their heart now. They've survived all year with that zone running game, Michigan.
Here's 2nd down and 7 for the Wolverines. Preston for a first down to the 35-yard line, and Rivers again, number 55, and that's a famous number, isn't it, here at USC? Some great players. Junior Seau wore that number, and a lot of folks believe that Junior Seau is one of the greatest college linebackers of all time. He's pretty good in the NFL too, come to think of it. First down and 10. Henne, Manningham, 9 more yards, and pushed out of bounds by Harris.
I'll tell you one thing. Chad Henne can throw that deep out about as good as anyone now, and he rifled that throw.
They're in predictable play calling mode right now because they have to throw, but I think that's where Chad Henne, a lot of times we've seen where he can get into his own rhythm, sometimes in even a better rhythm when he gets back there, gets his feet set, and gets rid of the football than at times where he has struggled within the offense.
Against Ohio State.
Yeah, when they got back in a little bit of a desperation mode, they were able to make some plays.
Second down and 1. Henne slips, steps away, can run for the first down, slides into it, and takes a lift from Cushing. 1 quarter to go for Chad Henne and Michigan. Trailing by 16. Now the Rose Bowl game presented by City returns after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Was Dallas Sartz. So with Hart being held to 42 yards, you can say that the Trojan defense has taken away Michigan's heart and heart.
It's where that 37 games starting in the career of Chad Henne comes into play, working a no-huddle offense with so much time still to go.
Short of the first down. It's been tough for the little man today. Cedric Ellis, the junior, is right there, and he's another of those talented Trojans coming back next year. He's a junior. That defensive front, sophomore, junior.
They are stopping Mike Hart today because they're getting penetration with the defensive line, Brent, and also just completely running downhill with those linebackers.
On 3rd and 2, wide open. Ecker for the 1st and 10, battles his way to the 23-yard line. There is a penalty flag, however. Hold on, thrown back around the 49-yard line.
I think we're going to get Dallas Sartz going up high a little bit and late on Chad Henne.
Roughing the passer, number 42 of the defense. Half the distance to the goal for the end of the run. First down.
A very well officiated game by this ACC crew. No question about that. Came very late.
Brent, it's a good call, but the line doing a good enough job that time to allow Chad Henne to find the open receiver. But Dallas Sartz coming very close to getting in there on time, but it's definitely a late hit.
You really do see the ability, though, of Chad Henne in the comeback ability of this Michigan football team.
End zone, hanging on, touchdown, Adrian Arrington. Finally, they get the ball into Arrington's hands, and it's for a touchdown. I believe they'll go for 2 here. The signal from the sideline. They're going to go for 2. Down 16, Lloyd didn't hesitate.
The blitz in one-on-one coverage on the outside. Arrington and Terrell Thomas, pretty good coverage, but a seed thrown by Chad Henne to the inside to give his receiver the chance to make the catch.
Starts Arrington in motion. It's Hart. Busts the first tackle. Got it. Game on.
And I'll tell you, it's a chess game. He checked to that run because of the look of the USC defense.
Well, this is what Michigan needed to spark themselves to get back into the game. Chad Henne leads them right down the field, making some big throws, and they get the two-point conversion from Michael Hart.
Back to within one score here in the fourth quarter. We are back. 19-11. Michigan down 8. Let's take another look.
This is what Michigan needed. You have Chad Henne. We talked about how he's in rhythm when he seems to be in a little bit of a rush, desperation mode, and a great throw that time to Arrington.
And with Chad Henne and Michael Hart, you knew Michigan was not going to go away. That was a great run right there for the touchdown, for the two-point conversion. Excuse me.
Chad Henne, 6 of 6 on that drive for 62 yards, and of course the touchdown.
Gable and Reed are back deep. Ball on the tee for Rivas. And here we go. Picked off by Gable, the running back. There's Hood pulling him down at the 26. We check in with Bonnie.
Brent, you guys were right when you said that touchdown jump-started Chad Henne. In fact, he was just telling me this week these pressure situations are what he thrives on. He says, I love having that on my shoulders, like I have to lead my team to victory. And he referenced back to week 3 against Notre Dame. He said, up until that point, we didn't show that we had a passing game. Notre Dame was number 2. We had a 3-game losing streak up in South Bend. And in that first half, Brent, you might remember, he hooked up with Mario Manningham for 3 touchdowns. Right now, this is Chad Henne's prime situation.
Yeah, exactly, Bonnie. And right now, John David Booty will try to keep the chains moving. Just right at the chain with that strike to Jarrett. Looks like he could have been about a half-yard short.
And Coach, you made an interesting point earlier about SC has a lead, but they don't have the ability to run the ball against Michigan. Do they continue to tack with the 8-point lead into the fourth quarter? They continue to throw against this Michigan defense where they have the advantage, or do they eventually try to have to work some clock by trying to do something they're not comfortable with in running?
Knowing Pete Carroll's personality, he is going to keep attacking, and deep down he knows he really cannot run the football against Michigan.
And Wally in at fullback. Play fake. Booty, as he was going out of bounds, throws it downfield, and that's incomplete. Fred Davis was the intended target. He goes out of bounds on that far side. So now it'll be 3rd down and short coming up here for the Trojans.
The reason I ask you that, Coach, is I know you're a conservative guy by nature. So this is going to be painful for you to watch, because as good as John David Booty is, you're 1 interception away or 1 mistake away from Michigan getting the ball.
How do you know I'm conservative? Is it because the clothes I wear? Or, I mean, what is it? Brent, why does he think I'm conservative?
Beats me. 3rd and 1. John David did it once earlier, and now he comes back with the first down, right straight ahead behind Ryan Khalil. A little bit of an undersized, but a very talented senior center from Corona, California.
The reason I think you're a conservative guy is anytime this year we've had 4th and short, I'm up here saying, go for it, go for it. You're up here saying, punt, punt.
And I tell you, this guy right here, I mean, he is consistent with his philosophy. He is going to keep throwing this football. You can count on that.
1st and 10. Play fake. Got all the time in the world. Gable underneath, and Harris said nowhere to go. David Harris, their leading tackler, their senior from Grand Rapids, wraps up another one.
It's always amazing to see how a touchdown for your own offense can affect the momentum and the play of your own defense. Even though SC is still having some success, at least the energy from up here looks to be very different from this Michigan defense and the way they're attacking USC here. We'll see if it pays off for them or if it ends up allowing SC to make a big play.
Second and 10. Deflected incomplete, and now it is 3rd and 10. And, it was hit that time by Sean Crable. who deflected it. And do you know, Kirk, what pleases Pete Carroll the most? Not about that particular play, but the whole scene here this afternoon. What pleases him the most for Pete Carroll is as he looks across the sideline, he doesn't see one Vince Young. That pleases him more than anything.
Very good point.
3rd and 10.
First time the Michigan crowd has come alive in the entire game.
Booty, deep Jarrett, the foot race for the end zone. 10-5 score it. "62 yards on a 3rd down.
Now you're hearing the USC crowd because the Michigan crowd has been silenced. John David Booty on 3rd and long comes up with a great throw. SC will get penalized for excessive celebration, but the touchdown will count.
I'm not sure about that. We might have had a late hit on Behringer in the end zone. Let's let this. Yes, there's a personal foul. Was dropped down.
I just saw the point.
Watch Jarrett. He's taunting him a little bit. Now, you know, well, we'll get to take another look at it. But this is going to be a personal foul against Michigan. That's what's going to be. And I think they're going to make a decision here, and they say on the kickoff, yeah, we got it. So Jack's he's all over it. That's good officiating right there. Don't you hate it when they take too much time?
After the score, there was a dead ball, personal foul, number 19 of the defense. That penalty will be administered on the succeeding kickoff. Touchdown.
And you know the amazing thing about that play, they have him bracketed, double teamed. You see Willis Behringer right there on the late hit, but they committed 2 guys in bracket coverage on Dwayne Jarrett. And how about Keyshawn Johnson's opinion now? I think we have seen the last of our young man Darryl Jarrett in college football game.
Boy, that was an ugly looking extra point attempt. He pulled this one over to the left. He's missed his 2nd one now. Wow. He has missed a couple of extra points, one to the right and one to the left. That was like me trying to hit a golf ball, trying to guide that thing. Jarrett to the end zone on 3rd and 10, 62 yards. Pete Carroll going down the sideline.
Exclusive coverage of the Rose Bowl game presented by Citi. Brought to you by Citi. It's easier to get the rewards you want. The BCS, presented by the Nissan Titan. Sprint, power up. And Allstate. Are you in good hands?
Because of the penalty, kicking off from midfield, and Beeler will nail this one, almost a souvenir. And now Jarrett, 10 catches, 176 yards, and this is 2nd touchdown.
Well, it's 3rd and 10, so you know that USC wants to try to get the ball to Dwayne Jarrett. But look at the 2 Michigan defenders. There's a little bit of confusion. They are both responsible, as Coach says. It's a bracket defense. The safety is the mistake that's made is by the safety, Willis Behringer. I think there was indecision there in thinking that Leon Hall had him covered, and that confusion led to the big touchdown.
I've seen that
Jarrett
so many times when you play in and out coverage. You get clever. You think you have 2-on-1. No one is sure who has him, and he splits you right down the middle.
25-11. Back on a 14. USC's missed 2 extra points, and now it is 2nd down and 10 after the deflection.
And that's an amazing 3rd down and 10 play that just took Michigan out of this football game.
I was going to say 3rd and 10 with Michigan making the touchdown, converting on the 2-point conversion, coming back. Defense makes some plays, get them to 3rd and 10, and then USC in typical Pete Carroll fashion, they go for the jugular and get the big score.
Throwing to his tight end, Tyler Ecker has been one of his preferred targets here in the 2nd half.
And it
That's
really
5 catches. He's the leading receiver for Michigan in this game.
You know, Brent, it really is shocking that Michigan defense, which is a great defense, how many big plays they've given up these last 2 games to Ohio State and USC. It's
How about those 2 50-plus yard touchdown runs in Columbus that we saw? And now they come right back with a big one of their own with Ecker. And he's got a first down at the Trojans 39. So the Wolverines firing right back.
Well, anytime you want to split a safety in a corner and try to hit a seam, you have to have a quarterback that has the ability to put the ball on a rope. That's exactly what Chad Henne did that time, and getting the ball thrown before Taylor Mays, the safety, came over to knock it down.
36 yards, and that gives Ecker a 78-yard afternoon. And here comes Mike Hart, picking up a couple more. And one of the storylines of the game is the way that defense has stopped him. Our college game day built by Home Depot coming up at 8:30 Eastern on ESPN. Reese Davis, Lou Holtz, Mark May. They'll have all the highlights, all the latest news for you. And again, that's 8:30 Eastern or 5:30 out here on the Pacific Network as we come to the top of the hour. Henne fires complete. Manningham first down at the 20-yard line.
When Chad Henne has time to throw, he has as strong his arm as you'll see in the country. And that time, the protection. Where's the protection been? Gave him time to throw. He'll find an open receiver.
Screen set up with Hart. Nothing doing. They lose 5 yards. Ellis, who has played a sensational game along with Mawaluga.
Kirk, one thing you talk about, where has that protection been? You know, when both teams start throwing the football as much as they're throwing here in the second half, those defenses start to get tired now, rushing that passer. So it's a little bit different tempo right now for these blitzes by USC than they were in the first half. They're a little bit tired.
In underneath. And not even back at the original line of scrimmage. That's Arrington who caught the scoring strike from Henne. And this will bring up a 3rd down. Oscar Lua, senior linebacker, one of the leaders on this SC team, making the stop, number 45.
There's some talent on this football field now. There are some big-time playmakers on both sides.
Third down, and it'll be 4th down, trailing by 14 with 8:11 to go.
This time Chad Henne feels pressure. Once he steps up into the pocket, Muala actually went by him. He had time to get his feet underneath him and make an accurate throw, but he hurried it, feeling that pressure, and threw it before he had his feet ready to make an accurate throw to give his receiver a chance. That might have been a first down.
The Jarrett touchdown has turned this game around. Michigan could go for a field goal here if they'd been down 8. Now down 14 with 8:11. They've got to go for it on 4th 11. Need to reach the 10-yard line for a first down, or they turn it over. Can Preston get it? He slips and he's down. Down at the 15, 5 yards short. USC football.
Again, the arm strength of Chad Henne to get that football out there, because he almost slipped. Watch right there, and then he throws it really flat-footed.
Well, he was lucky to get the ball off. He gathered himself and got the ball thrown to the outside, but still, even if Preston keeps his feet, he's not going to pick up a first down.
Yeah, some folks will tell you, you got to throw to the first down marker on a big 4th down like that. Timeout. 25-11. 8:02 left for the Wolverines. And there's Coach Holt and his defense over on the other side. They've played a whale of a game. Now John David Booty and the offense will see if they can eat away some precious minutes here. Pump fake. Near side, Smith grabs it. Out of bounds around the 40-yard line. Let's check in down below with Bonnie.
Brad, Mike Hart missed the last few plays on Michigan's drive. Paul Schmidt, Wolverines head trainer, was looking at his right shoulder, but we don't have a diagnosis just yet. Paul moved away from Hart, and he's just kind of sitting on the bench. But as soon as I get any information, we'll let you know.
All right, Bonnie. We didn't appear as we looked at him while you were giving that report that was serious, but certainly you never know. He went down. He was a little bit of pain there.
Yeah, he got jammed into the turf a little bit. Took a lot of weight on that shoulder. How about this USC offense? How about that last play?
They weren't working the clock. They were firing for 26 yards, and here he comes again. Jarrett again at the 30-yard line, and he hands it to Behringer. Now, you might want to say that's a little bit unsportsmanlike right there also. 29 more yards for Jarrett.
Well, Dwayne Jarrett must have seen Calvin Johnson's performance today in his bowl game, because he is putting on a similar clinic here in the second half, going up into the air, making the catch that time, and showing that ability to high point it.
I'm going to say one thing about wide receivers. They should emulate Larry Fitzgerald and not Terrell Owens, and I mean it, okay? First down and 10. Play the game. Ball is at the 30-yard line. Play fake. Near side, and Davis brings it in. Inside the 10-yard line. The passing show continues.
They continue to attack downfield with a 14-point lead. Under 7 minutes to go.
Let me ask you guys something. Officially, there's no NFL team in Los Angeles.
They're right here.
Sure this is not an NFL team?
They're right here.
I mean, look at this play.
Former wide receiver comes in handy this time. One-on-one with Sean Crable. Goes up into the air.
That is unbelievable.
Makes a nice catch.
This makes that UCLA loss even more shocking to me.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, come on.
Last three pass plays, 26, 29, and 23 yards, giving the Trojans first and goal. Under pressure, touchdown. Smith. John David Booty being picked up with a huge smile on his face, and he showed a lot of courage here today.
Fred Davis clears out David Harris right there in the middle of the field, opening it up nicely. Well-designed play by USC, and they have continued to attack the safeties and the linebackers of this Michigan defense.
And Booty got sandwiched by Lamar Woodley and Tim Jamison and hung in there.
Here's Danilo. Tacks it on this time. It's a relief for the young man. Well, John David Booty, I said he's going to go to work on the clock. He went to work instead on yardage. 4 for 4, 85 yards, and another touchdown pass. Against the Michigan defense, John David Booty has shredded them for 391 yards and 4 touchdowns. They have outscored this defense 29-8 in the second half. What a difference. The two sidelines.
And Brent, they are 28 passes and 4 runs in the second half, the USC offense.
You called it. They had the pass. They're a passing team. They've done a fabulous job on Preston, too. Well, let's take a look at the city game summary of this, the 93rd Rose Bowl game. And 237 yards allowed. An interception by Jackson. They've had 6 sacks. Then that strike to Arrington. They were within 8, but Jarrett against the bracket coverage broke free. His second touchdown of the afternoon. And it is 30-11. Jarrett 11 catches, 206 yards, and 2 of Booty's 4 touchdown passes. Brandon Minor stays in the game, so Mike Hart over there on the sideline. Going down the far side, incomplete. He overthrew Manningham, and he was double covered down there. Terrell Thomas was there with Taylor Mays, the outstanding freshman safety from Seattle, Washington. There you are, folks. You're seeing one of the biggest safeties in the country. It'll be interesting watching him through the years if he can keep his weight down and stay at safety, or they'll have to move him up to linebacker. His daddy played in the NFL. He was out at practice the other day, and this is a very, very fine, talented young man right here.
Player of the year in the state of Washington last year as a high school senior.
2nd and 10. Pops was telling me he had a tough time getting over the UCLA loss, but about 4 days, he said, before he came out of his funk. Kept wondering what he could have done differently. And there's Manningham pushed out of bounds on the far side by Kerry Harris. We check in with Bonnie.
Checked in with Paul Schmidt, the Wolverines trainer. He's telling me that Mike Hart's shoulder is fine. However, he's not on the field, so make your own conclusions, Brent.
Well, Bonnie, it is getting late, and they're down 32-11. Mike has already said that he's coming back next year. It's been a very tough afternoon. I think that the defense against Mike Hart is by far the best that I have seen this year. The first man hitting him, and they have gang tackled him, and he just didn't have much daylight.
Not a chance to make a play in the open space, open field at all. They've just closed the gaps completely with this SC D-line and linebackers.
We wondered which team would overcome the severe disappointment of losing their final regular season game. And I think that question has been answered. We thought that Michigan might bounce back because they really had the second spot of the BCS taken away from them by a vote, whereas USC was beaten by their arch rival UCLA on the field. But the Trojans came ready to play here today, especially on defense, as a drop pass by the Wolverines. And we come down now to the final 5:50, and Kirk and Bob, I think both of you agree with me that the way this game is headed, the Trojans will open the season under Pete Carroll as the preseason. No, folks, don't tell him that. He'll jump all over. Yeah. He jumped on me with both feet when I suggested that to him. He said, I don't care.
We're not worried about that.
Yes.
We're focused on this game and winter conditioning. But you're right. With this impressive a win, with how many guys that are returning, it's tough not to imagine them up at number 1.
Not just returning. I want to show you some of their draft, not draft folks, but the fellows who've committed verbally incomplete, who are going to come. Let's check in on the USC. Now remember, Pete Carroll, if you weren't with us, has said to us, this class coming in is the best recruiting class I've ever had. Now there you have a linebacker from Anaheim, extremely highly rated. There's Wendell Tyler's son. Wendell was a great running back at UCLA and the NFL. Got a quarterback from Villa Park. He's got a backup quarterback by the name of Sanchez, and Sanchez will have a chance to win the job. Defensive linemen, offensive linemen. They're coming from all over next year, and Pete's going to give them a chance, as he always has, to start next year when the season opens.
He played 15 true freshmen this year.
3rd and 10. Stepping up and could not hook up with his receiver, Carson Butler, the sophomore tight end.
If Dwayne Jarrett ends up leaving, think about Steve Smith and Chris McFoy all being seniors, those two being seniors. The only area where you're going to have to see some inexperience step up, and this is the only area, is wide receiver. You're going to have some young wide receivers emerge to have the kind of team that you would expect to have. And the way they recruit, I'm sure that will not be a problem for USC.
They'll find a few. Fielded at the 30-yard line, and that's Reed to the 40. And USC 5 minutes away from winning another Rose Bowl. They hold more wins here than any other school, and they're about to add another. Well, College Game Day, built by the Home Depot, again coming up at 8:30 Eastern on ESPN. Reese Davis, Lou Holtz, Mark May will be in the studio. They'll have a wrap-up of all of the action today. Wisconsin and Penn State with huge wins for the Big Ten, but here Michigan on the short end against USC of the Pac-10. What does it mean for Ohio State? you are left to wonder. And you can make your own conclusions. With 5:10 to go, the championship down in Glendale next Monday. And the key guy has been Dwayne Jarrett. That was Washington, the running back.
I think we knew if John David Booty had time to throw, he was going to make some plays, and he has found Dwayne Jarrett 11 times, 205 yards for 2 touchdowns, has completely dominated the Michigan secondary, men against boys, when Booty has had time to throw in this second half. And again, you look at Dwayne Jarrett, you compare him to some of the best receivers in the country. The only one that comes to mind is Calvin Johnson, who finally had a chance to get the ball thrown to him today, and he also had a great game.
Bradford is in as the running back. He throws over his head. We check in down below with Lisa.
Well, Brent, for those who think or thought that Dwayne Jarrett isn't ready to turn pro, Keyshawn Johnson, I asked Dwayne Jarrett about it, and he said, you know, for folks who believe that, I do respect their opinion. I respect what Keyshawn has to say. But Dwayne said, what makes them think that I wouldn't continue to work once I do go to the NFL? He said, even if I'm not physical enough, and I believe that I am, I would still continue to work at that level. And I said, Dwayne, it sounds like you're leaning towards declaring yourself eligible for the draft. And he said, no, don't put words in my mouth, but if I were, I would continue to work at the next level. Brent?
Yeah,
sounds like a heavy lean.
Oh.
Goodbye.
And there is the young man, Alan Bradford.
What happens when you go through that process of declaring whether to come out or not? It's hard to know who to trust, because it seems like everybody has an agenda. You know, you talk about the dynamics of a bowl game, all these players announcing, particularly for Michigan, they're coming back. Think of the dynamics of those players that are backups behind those guys now that are forced to wait another year with the starter returning. So many things go into bowl game preparation. That's why sometimes a different team shows up to play than you had the last time you coached them in the regular season.
Talking about who to trust, they have the luxury of having Pete Carroll, a coach who they really trust his opinion.
Woodley closing in, and down goes John David Booty. So Lamar Woodley coming in, and that will be the second sack of this game for the Wolverines, and it'll bring up a 2nd and 18. And John David said, let's just go on down and keep that clock ticking.
I think it'll be interesting to see where Lamar Woodley ends up in the draft. Brent, you know, he's a little bit undersized to be a true defensive end. He's more of a 3-4 outside linebacker, but he hasn't had a lot of success playing that position.
So Mark Sanchez, we get to take a look at the young man. And remember what we told you, despite this great performance, 391 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions, the young man here, the freshman from Mission Viejo, California, will have a chance to compete. And if you've had a chance to watch or see tape on him, this young man has a rifle arm. He's mobile. He's one of the better young quarterbacks in the country. That is going to be one of the great duels of the spring between Sanchez and John David Booty. Now, Sanchez had a crack at the job last spring, and then there was a little off-the-field incident, and I think involving Sanchez and a woman here at USC, but that seemed to disappear, and the team and Pete Carroll, they've stood solidly behind Sanchez in that situation. And it is 3rd down and 15. Here is the toss play with Bradford, and he would like to have stayed in bounds, but he ran out with it.
Pete Carroll may tackle him over there on the sideline.
Hey, you think that USC team's having a little more fun over on that sidelines than they did the last time?
Well, last two times.
Last 2 times.
Yeah, 1 year ago from today, or close to it.
You know, I was a little worried about USC being flat. Just practicing at their same practice facility, staying in the same hotel, a little bit of a mundane schedule, kind of used to doing it.
I think they were early, though. I think that's why Pete Carroll was, and some of the coaches were over there trying to get the crowd into the game. And I think second half, the throwing that we talked about, you talked about, all of a sudden opened some things up.
We have a delay foul against the offense, snapping the ball prior to ready to play. That's a 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
Boy, he's got to feel good, doesn't he? John David Booty.
It just goes to show you that the end of the year for USC, with Oregon and then Cal and then Notre Dame leading up to the UCLA game, I think a lot of people assumed the hay was in the barn after they got through the 3 games. And I think that's what affected USC when they played UCLA, is they didn't expect much of a game from UCLA. They didn't show up to play.
Out of bounds. And it's going to be marked at about the, he's still walking, about the 30-yard line. So a reminder now, folks, coming up, the Built Ford Tough post game with interviews and the trophy presentation to Pete Carroll and the USC Trojans.
John David Booty, Chad Henne, both in the Heisman race, you'd have to think next year, along with Michael Hart.
Well, there's some great running backs returning next year. Michael Hart will be up there. Darren McFadden, Steve Slayton, along with these quarterbacks.
Might have been the last time to see those two fellows as teammates. First down and 10. We'll see how everything unfolds. Preston. He stays in bounds.
You know, Preston, you had to be impressed, Brent, when we visited with him the other day. He told us a story about his 3 older brothers. One graduated from Pitt, one from Penn State, and one from Thiel College in Pittsburgh. And he was the 4th that graduated. And he told us his mom cried when he walked across that stage and got his diploma. That's a heck of a statement right there.
Isn't it, though? What a great feeling for Mom, huh? Raising those youngsters. Preston played a little quarterback in high school. It'll be interesting to see how he does with that speed. He'll certainly get a chance as a return man, if nothing else. And they probably use him as a slot receiver in the NFL and see what kind of production they can get.
So, Brent, 32-11. Let's assume this is the final. You think back in Ann Arbor, the bloggers are out, and we've got trouble in Ann Arbor for Lloyd Carr after the way the Ohio State series has gone and the way these bowl games have gone?
I don't think there's any question. You can book it. 2nd down and 10. Henne. The 3rd straight year that you lose the combination to Ohio State and then the bowl game. That brings pressure.
Sure. I mean, it's amazing to think that the team is number 2 in the country, 11-0 going into their rivalry game. 2 games later, the bloggers are back out.
You know what? Not so much the bloggers, but again, think if they would have won this game. And every time he walks into an alumni meeting, every time he gets up to speak, it's talking about coach. Everything's positive. You're the preseason #1. Instead now, he has to spin everything and try to find some positives, even though he's an 11-2 team as he ends the season. So it's a completely different lifestyle for the head coach based on whether you win the bowl or lose the bowl in the offseason.
The strike. And, you know, you've got to make sure that the recruits show up. We've got some great verbal commitments. If you wondered about Ryan Mallett, the outstanding quarterback from Texarkana, Texas, that he will be in school here in a few days. So when Brantley decommitted from Texas to go to Florida, there was talk that the Horns might go after Mallett. They probably did. Just checked in. As you know, Lefty Drizel's great comment: when somebody commits verbally, at least you know who the competition is. So there's Ryan Mallett, and he's a big rascal. And they got the wide receiver. That's a great name, isn't it? Junior Hemingway. And there's Butch Woolfolk's son, a defensive back from Sugar Land, Texas. Jeremy Finch out of Indianapolis, DB. Ryan Van Bergen out of Whitehall, Michigan, defensive end. So there's some top players coming into it. That's a very good recruiting.
Oh yeah,
right
and Lloyd Carr and the Michigan staff always seem to close strong as well. So I'm sure you'll see even more names surface between now and signing day.
2nd and 10. Juggling Preston. 10-yard line, 5 for the corner. Got the touchdown. And that's why Steve Preston will get a long look in the NFL. That's 41 yards, folks. And that's some major speed right there.
That's man-to-man. Henne going to, instead of Matthews, who cut underneath, who was open, he decides to wait, gets the ball to Steve Preston, and it was just a foot race. Once he made the catch, it was a foot race with Terrell Thomas.
Terrell Thomas, USC's best corner. Good to see this young guy finish his career at Michigan with a big-time play like that. He's played a lot of football for Michigan.
Rivas tacks on the extra point. There's a penalty flag. Didn't have a single penalty in the first half. Pretty clean overall. This is just about the 6th time. Couldn't stop it even with the extra man.
What a comeback after the UCLA game for USC and for especially John David Booty and this offensive line of USC.
The guy in that Michigan hat, he better get used to wearing that big old cold weather hat. They better have soaked up all the sunshine they could handle the last couple of days, because
well, you won't see the sun
back,
until April or May.
That's like you.
Yeah, me too. So I'm soaking it in myself. It'll come back mid-April.
Illegal participation, 12 players on the field against the defense. That penalty is refused. The extra point is successful.
Last minute coming up.
As you guys said, it's great to see a senior get a chance to make a play. I know the game is out of reach at this point, but Henne is not giving up. He finds the senior Breaston. Once he holds on to the ball, as I said, he shows the speed that you guys are talking about that'll probably have some NFL scouts interested in what he can offer at the next level. He outruns Terrell Thomas.
Yeah, the combination of punt return, kick return, third wide receiver. Steve Breaston will have a legitimate shot. That's as good as it gets right there. Winning the bowl game, bouncing back from that UCLA game.
Look at that smile. There's Ken Norton Jr. with his back right to you there on the left-hand side.
Is there
Steve.
A better-looking coach for as far as a USC position? You put a pair of sunglasses on the guy. He's not allowed to coach anywhere else. I mean, he's perfect for USC.
I think he knows it. I think he's a smart fella about that.
He is.
And I'll tell you something else, though. He does pay attention to what's going on in the NFL. You want to have a conversation with somebody who knows what's happening around the entire football world. He's a football junkie. I mean, I'm telling you, he is something. Garrett Rivas and Mr. Kraft, the owner of the Patriots. Interesting to read his comments that they perhaps weren't ready for Pete Carroll, and that they certainly dismissed him too early. Remember, he was up there for a few years, had the Jets for a year. Brian Cushing, who's played very well, he led that assault in the first half. 32-18.
Yeah, you see that big smile from Pete Carroll, and if you're not familiar with him, and they got him with some water. If you're not familiar with him and his style, he likes to have fun, but you won't find a coach and a coaching staff that works any harder than USC during a 2.5 hour practice.
Time to party down.
They got him.
That was a good bat.
That was perfect.
That was good.
Everything's going right.
That's right. They didn't fumble the jug. Gable back in. He stays in bounds.
For those bowl games remaining, this is the technique that you want to use.
See, that guy right there was in on the plan.
He's a decoy.
You see how he distracted the attention right there?
He's like, Coach, I'll hold your headphones just for a second if I could, but congratulations on the big win. See him pointing to him.
Guys, we've had a great season, haven't we?
Oh, it's been great.
We have seen some big-time ball games now.
We're ready for next year.
32-18. And of course, coming up, we're going to have that Built Ford Tough post game. We'll have interviews, the trophy presentation to the Trojans. John David Booty wins a bowl game, and there's his favorite target, 11 catches for 205 yards and a pair of touchdowns for Dwayne Jarrett. I see that confetti, and I still think about that magical Vince Young last year. A year later, USC comes in and captures the bowl. There they are. They're the Rose Bowl champions. And coming up next now, it'll be the Built Ford Tough post game. Interviews and the trophy presentation to USC. You're watching ESPN on ABC. Well, we welcome you back to the Built Ford post-game show. And it is Ford tough, those USC Trojans. Dwayne Jarrett and the Trojans with the Rose Bowl t-shirts, ready to celebrate a little bit. Washing away the bitter memory of losing to UCLA. Coming back strong under Coach Pete Carroll. John David Booty throwing for 391 yards. Keith Rivers and the entire defense played a terrific game. They took charge, didn't they, Coach, in that first half?
They really did, and it all started in the first half with their defense and the blitzing scheme that Pete Carroll used. I think they sacked the quarterback, Chad Henne, 5 times in the first half, and then in the second half, the offense and the passing game just took it over.
I think the tone was set in the first half by the defense, the blitz packages, but it was, at the end of the day, John David Booty having the time to throw the ball and picking apart the Michigan secondary. For the Wolverines, that's the second straight game that's happened.
Let's check in with Lisa.
Thanks a lot, Brent. I'm with John David Booty. John David, in the first half, it was a defensive battle, 3-3 to end the first half. What changed in that second half for you guys?
Really, I don't think much did. We felt we should have had probably about 21 points going into halftime. Obviously, I had the fumble. We didn't make it in down here, but we were in the red zone several times, and really just thought we had to come out and throw the ball, and thought we could make some plays downfield on them, and that's what we came out and did. Was there one play, one reception that one of your receivers made that kind of like opened it up for you guys? Well, I mean, DJ, it seemed like every time he touched the ball tonight, just doing what he does best, and that's making plays. And, I can't say enough about him.
Can you describe the performance that he gave here tonight?
I think it's DJ being DJ. It seems like he's always done that in the big games. He's come up big for me, and also, Matt, too, in the past. So, he just did it once again.
I know the decision isn't yours, but do you think that you'll have him to throw to again next season?
I hope so. I do. I really do. I've already been on him. When they took us out of the game there towards the end of the fourth quarter, I was already working him, so hope so.
What did you say to him?
No, just saying, hey, man, we need to do this, one more time. Let's go next year, But he's got to do what's best for him and his family, and I understand that. And I think after a performance like you had tonight, it might be tough to persuade him to come back, but I'm definitely trying.
Thanks a lot, and congratulations, Brent.
Thank you, Lisa. And right now, let's go down to the field for the award presentation. And here's Chris Fowler. Chris.
Well, Brent, thank you. The 93rd Rose Bowl presented by City goes to USC with 29 second half points, and now to present the trophy, the president of the Tournament of Roses, Mr. Paul Holman. Paul?
Coach Carroll, it's my honor to present this championship trophy to USC as the champions of the 2007 Rose Bowl game.
Pete, let me ask you, what provided the spark after halftime when it was 3-3?
Well, this program for a long time has been a second half program. We've been able to find ways to find an energy and a juice in the second half. They just weren't going to let it happen. The guys in the locker room were crazy and nuts, and they wanted to get back out here and win the game. And we decided to throw the football a lot. John David and Dwayne and Stevie and all those guys went nuts, and we had a heck of a second half.
Seemed like the game plan on both sides was pure aggression. The great pass rush in the first half, the takeaways in the second half, and then the relentless passing attack on offense.
Yeah, it really felt good to be on the attack on the defensive side of the ball. We got off to a great start, and I think, at least gave them some concerns and gave us a chance to get some momentum once the offense picked up. I can't say enough about Sark and Kiff and those guys going for it in the second half and just not holding back and throwing everything at them, and the players coming through and making the plays. It was a great night at the Rose Bowl.
What a different feeling from a month ago on this same field. Are you left with any sense of what might have been this season, or is it in the end purely satisfying?
Yeah, it's a little disappointing because we could play with anybody, and we knew that and in that regard. But to have an opportunity to play in this Rose Bowl that we cherish so much with a great matchup with Michigan, and to have a night like this for our fans, it's just awesome, and we're really proud of it.
All these folks for USC are certainly going to be excited about next season, the chance to perhaps be preseason #1. Are you as excited as they are about the prospects for this team next season?
Well, we really are excited about the team. We're so young. We have so many guys coming back playing, and there's a real feeling that there's some special stuff in this locker room, and we got a lot of work to do, but we're going to be okay next year. I know that.
Pete, congratulations. Go celebrate. We'll bring in the defensive MVP, Brian Cushing. Brian, for a guy who wasn't sure if he was going to be healthy enough to play in this game, that was a heck of a performance with 3 sacks and the forced fumble.
Thank you. It was just God's blessing to be able to give me the ability to play today, stay healthy, and just perform for my family and all my teammates.
Got a real New Jersey connection because the offensive MVP over here is Dwayne Jarrett, also from that state, huh?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's something special that we're really going to appreciate and remember for a while.
Okay, let's bring in Mr. Jarrett for a career-high 205 receiving yards and a couple of touchdowns. Dwayne, Michigan has some very good corners. You were able to have your way with them in the second half. What was the difference?
You know, the coaches, we just decided to spread the ball around more, you know, go deep vertically. You know, Michigan's cornerbacks, you know, they played great, but, you know, we got the better half of them today.
There's been a lot of excitement and talk about next season. You're going to hear the chants from these USC fans. We're going to say one more year. You are a junior with an eligibility. What are your thoughts?
You know, that's a decision for me and my family to decide, and, you know, we're just going to sit down and go over all the facts and, you know, make the best decision.
Well, congratulations, Rose Bowl offensive MVP. The Garden State of New Jersey is represented with Dwayne Jarrett and Brian Cushing as USC scores 29 after halftime to beat Michigan. Brent, back to you.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. John David Booty, the winning quarterback. 27 of 45 for 391 yards, 205 of them to Dwayne Jarrett. We'll wrap it up as we continue.
Are they hot tonight once they go?
Welcome back again to the Built Ford Tough post-game show as the celebration is on for USC. John Saunders, Craig James, and Doug Flutie. You have to wonder, as you saw that team perform in the second half, if this is not one of the top 2 teams in the nation.
Who's that, USC?
Yes.
Yeah, you know what? We were all coming out here trying to see if Michigan was going to dominate and if they were going to run them up. But when you watch John David Booty and this offense perform, and really throughout the second half, on third down they got it done. John David Booty, he had 5 first downs that were converted via pass on third down for over 130 yards passing. It was third down conversions that kept the ball with USC. Michigan's defense, where were they? This is a defense the last 2 games against Ohio State and against USA here almost gave up 1,000 yards. Michigan's defense was supposed to be the difference, and they just didn't get it done.
They didn't get it done because USC, I think play calling in the second half was awesome. I think that they came out in the second half, USC's offense started moving the pocket, little rollouts, little bootleg action, little bootleg pull-up, moving the launch points to protect the quarterback. Then some quick rhythm passing. Then by the end of the game, it's time to open it up. Big plays down the field. The passing game was awesome. John David Booty, Dwayne Jarrett, unbelievable.
You know what's exciting about this is that they return just about everybody next year if they can get Jarrett back as well.
And, you know, we didn't really know what to expect out of John David Booty. You know, now he's going to be the captain of this team coming back next year. There's going to be a lot of hype for the Heisman Trophy for John David Booty, and he deserves that. Now we get a chance to go over and we get a chance to see if Ohio State can wrap things up for the season. You know, we get a chance to see what they can do, but USC will be #1 next year.
Yeah, and the play that made this game, I think, when it got to an 8-point game was the post route that Booty stuck in there to Jarrett through double coverage for the big touchdown, making a 2-score game again.
I will concede to you now on the final day of the season for us. The right 2 teams are playing for the national championship.
Yes, they are.
Back to you.
Love you, man.
All right, John. Thank you very much. Wonderful work again as John David Booty and Dwayne Jarrett down on the field. You know, as we move sort of away from this game here this afternoon, let's think back to the entire college football season. In many ways, this was the best that any of us have ever been around. Started down in Austin, Texas, 1 versus 2. Ohio State against the Longhorns. The Buckeyes winning a big one on the road and then driving all the way. The showdown with Michigan on the day after our good friend Bo Schembechler passes away. And now here in the Rose Bowl, USC comes back and wins as we await to see what happens between Ohio State and Florida. Once again, the final score 32-18. Coming up next now, America's Funniest Home Videos, followed by a Super Nanny. Super Nanny at 9 Eastern, except on the West Coast. Thanks for watching ESPN on ABC. So long, everybody. An arena for the ages, part of the annual ritual. Another year welcomed, another memory added to the annals of Rose Bowl lore. And this year, a meeting of 2 teams with traditions of rising to the occasion. For one, a ringing moment. for the other stinging disappointment. This slice of history and the holiday season are over, but the calendar stretches out ahead, and when 2008 comes around, the Rose Bowl will be ready again.
This has been a special presentation of ESPN on ABC.